Bring welcome citizens and welcome those participating to our Board of Commissioners meeting. Call this meeting to order, and our first order of business would be the invocation and prayer. And our Commissioner, Dr. Reddick, if you would lead us in prayer. Stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, it's once again that we gather here as the Board of Commissioners to take care of the business on behalf of the citizens of Gates County. We invite your Holy Spirit to settle down with us just for a little while so that everything we say and do will be pleasing in your sight. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, Heavenly Father, to continue to take care of those under the watchful prayers and all the company care that you can afford to the first responders and all the families that are hit by COVID-19. Give them comfort and care, Heavenly Father, as they wrestle through this pandemic. We ask that when we complete our business here, that it will be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. And now we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, our first order of business would be agenda adjustments. And do any commissioners have anything? Or
To include under budget amendments, under the consent budget amendment 43.
under G?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And then under new business, instead of E, the interim budget.
So that'll be under E for year 21.
Right, budget, just take out the word interim.
Roger that.
Do we need to add in your email, the policy from May the 19th now?
Oh, yes, thank you. I forgot that was, Melissa and I talked about that and we did forget to add that. Yes,
Is that going to be F?
yes.
So under new business, we'll add F, May 19th. Is that right, Mr. Jones?
The email we have on our desk, yes, sir.
It's the policy.
Any other adjustments?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as adjusted.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none. Agenda adjustments are here noted. Move along to administrative reports. County manager's report.
No,
We gotta
Oh,
do
go
it.
ahead.
Public comment.
public comments. And there is one, you have it at your table. I will read it. And this question has been submitted to the Board of Elections Director. This is from Anthony Felton at White Oak Road in York. Good evening, everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well. I have a question or questions that does not pertain to the budget meeting. I've been a voter for I don't know how many years in the county. I don't want to miss my good deed of casting my votes. However, the COVID-19 that's attacking our country might be causing me to make a decision on whether my health is more important than my vote. I'd like to vote. However, I'd like to stay well too. Because of the COVID-19 attacking our country, will I be able to vote by having my ballot mailed to me? Or is there any type of planning in the process now before general election day? I would like to know. Please send me feedback. And then he provides his email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Felton. Any other public comments?
No, sir.
Hearing none, we will move to item 4, consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion we approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
There's a motion to have consent agenda items under consent. And all in favor, aye. Any opposed, like sign? None, we will move to consent agenda. And they are A, approval of minutes from 15 April 2020. B, customer service refund. C, gets title Roman numeral 6 policy. D, library appointments. They are Patricia Felton, Laura Dickinson, and Melissa Lawrence. E, regional library appointment, Patricia Felton. F, Older Americans Month proclamation. And G, 3 budget amendments, 40, 41, no, 4 actually, 40, 41, 42, and 43. Any discussion, any questions, comments about consent agenda? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
We already voted.
All right,
It's already passed.
passed. All right. Thank you, sir. Number 5, administrative reports, county manager report.
This report is for April 2nd through May 5th. The administration and finance offices moved into the historic courthouse. There are still odds and ends to be completed, such as counters, final clearing of the parking, etc. Fiscal year 20 budget spending has been frozen. During fiscal year 21 budget meetings, certain departmental needs were approved for fiscal year 20 spending. Mrs. Outland and I are watching the budget very closely since we have been told to anticipate a 10 to 50% reduction in tax revenue between April and June. Difficult decisions will have to be made for fiscal year 21 as counties have been told to anticipate anywhere from a 0 to 40% reduction. Gates County is eligible for $438,118 of the CARES Act funds. The money cannot be used to replace lost revenue and must meet criteria set forth by the federal government, one of which it must be expended related to COVID-19. Mrs. Atlan and I will be following guidance that will be coming from the North Carolina Office of the State Budget and Management to see if Gates County can receive any of the funding. Beginning the week of April the 6th, the NCACC has held Zoom meetings for county managers to discuss various items related to COVID-19. Albemarle Regional Health Services have also held weekly Zoom meetings. The School of Government has held quite a few Zoom meetings as well. Appropriate staff have participated as they related to their departments. There's also a memo. There had been questions asked about what was going to be done with the space that was vacated between administration and finance. So there is a memo along with diagram. Yours is a little more bold than mine is.
On our desk now?
No, it should be in your packet.
It's in right behind.
It should be following my report.
I didn't see that.
Inspections will move into what used to be the inspections department. They vacated this area and they will be moving back into that location where Melissa and I were located. That's going to be the planning and code enforcement position. This would allow whenever the inspections department and the planning and permitting technician are gone, that section of the building can be closed, and then anyone who needs assistance from Lisa or from Frank for code enforcement can walk directly into their office suite. The position on the other side of the hallway, the room that is currently occupied by code enforcement could become a file room for customer service because they are required to keep certain files for records retention, and they do need a little more space. They also keep some of the bills for the past few months in case there's a question. They can go back and look through those. The office at the end of the hallway that's currently where the building inspector sits can be a meeting room, which would then leave 3 spaces that could be utilized for whatever need we see fit. Excuse me. I know we're not looking at any major projects for next year, but if someone decided this meeting room in this building could be a larger room, the wall that on your paper is red and yellow, that wall is not a load-bearing wall. That wall has obviously, if you've been in that office, know that it has been added at some point in time. There's actually, for example, a gap in the wall at the bookcases between those 2 offices. So that wall could be removed in the future if necessary. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Now that you sent, well, this is dated May the 6th.
Mhm.
We all got an email from Kevin Leonard, who is part of the NCACC. I'm not sure what his role is.
He's the director.
Director. And his email was saying that they sent a letter to Congressman trying to get the CARES Act funds to be able to be used for shortfalls in revenue, I think, is the way that I read it. Any changes on that? We also got an email from, Representative Butterfield, I think yesterday, talking about the HEROES Act, and they're shooting for trying to help municipalities, local governments. You heard any feedback on that?
No, I did not receive one from Butterfield, but as far as the follow-up to the ones Kevin Leonard said, nothing has been sent. We've not received any communication. We have a conference call tomorrow afternoon at 4:00.
Should we send a letter to our congressman saying that it's, we would really like for that to be pushed if we could? We get all those emails from other counties where they pass resolutions or sending letters to other people and wanting us to jump on board. I don't think since I've been on the board, we've ever sent a letter to Butterfield or Burr's office that I can recall. And, I don't mind us being the first in something for once. And
I actually printed that from Butterfield, and he closed by saying, and it's actually in bold print, says, please feel free to communicate any views you may have to my office or to our United States senators. It is important that the federal government saves lives, protects families and communities, and it takes dollars to do that. So anyway, I printed that. I knew it was going to come up. And
that was just something I
And
thought
then the
about
Bible, too.
after seeing that email.
I
And
think
you
that's-
have sent letters to our local officials, state officials at various times. But it's nothing wrong with sending a letter to those 3, the 2 senators and our representative, saying that, pleading our case that about how restricted those funds are.
Now, I did, back when that conversation first started with the CARES Act, we were encouraged by NACO which is the National Association, to reach out. So online, I went and just sent an email to all 3 that said, can you please be a co-signer? That's what they were looking for, someone to co-sign the bill or to be a bill sponsor so that the monies could be used to replace money lost due to COVID. So I did send an email, and my mind just went blank as to Trey's last name. But with Tillis, he did call and he said they did receive that message that I had sent, and that Tillis was looking into it.
well, with the, it is likely, where they'll find the money, I don't know, but there's so many counties and states that are struggling. I mean, there's some big cities that will probably be filing some form of bankruptcy. So I think it's likely. We can't bank on it when we're working on the budget and can't count on it, but I think there is an outside chance that the federal government is going to have to come up with something. They can't let everybody fail.
Well, and even North Carolina counties have said, and we'll use Mecklenburg, Dana said on the conference call, I forget how many millions Mecklenburg County received because they did not receive the money from the state. They received it directly to the from the federal government because of the size of Mecklenburg. But she even said, I hate to say this, but I don't know how Mecklenburg's going to spend all that money on COVID.
And they were part of,
On
those three in the state.
Right.
That received it.
Yeah, that wasn't FEMA.
No, this is from the CARES
CARES
Act.
Act.
But if you had over 500,000 people in your area, then the federal government sent you the money directly.
Instead of the per capita way, which is the way we got it.
So, but they even said Mecklenburg's not going to be able to spend as much money as they've received
Because they can only spend it
on
on COVID.
COVID, correct?
Yeah, but I think what's going to probably change because of the threat of all these counties and municipalities going defunct is that they're going to send some dollars down, hopefully, for lost revenue.
For every business. One thing I want to add in there for Commissioner Jones, don't know if he's aware that Congressman Butterfield has been to the county and met with us on several occasions. So we have had contact with him. However, I think that what Commissioner Hoffler was saying too, in addition with the letters that have been written, and I don't know if Commissioner Hoffler would feel well about directing the county manager to write each one of them a letter and keep those copies.
Oh,
For
yeah,
us.
and I would make that in a motion. I would think we should also contact our state leaders, as well, because money might come to Raleigh and for them to disperse. Well, we need to make sure that they, all counties that have,
Those letters, the cumulative effect of those letters gives them real firepower where they can stand up and shake these
And
letters.
that's why I say, we get all these emails that Melissa forwards from other counties that their commissioners passed something last night and wanted to pass along. And I know Natalie and Kim will both agree. They don't know where that $430,000 can be spent. Bob Steinberg's assistant, legislative assistant, Ed, I've reached out to him and he was looking and it's a lot of uncertainty out there. If they could just say it could go to law sales tax revenue, hey, you'd be okay with that, wouldn't you, Kim?
And we have not yet sat down to look at the pandemic,
That's her sheet.
I forget what they call it, but it's the pandemic office now for that money. They finally have the website up and running. We've not sat down and looked at everything yet in more detail because they told us, I got the impression the first day or two it was up, it was kind of bare bones because I was on a conference call. They said, well, it went up today and we'll be adding a lot more. And they kind of left it like that. So we have plans next week to sit down because we have to have a plan by June 1st. We already know that anything we bought, for example, DSS and the health department are going to have a deep clean done. We're going to have someone come in and clean the carpet so we can take that money based on what we've learned and put that towards that $438,000 because it's helping reduce the chances of someone coming in, and getting sick from things that are stirred up on the carpet. There's a few other things we still have to get clarification about because it was still.
like protective gear for
A lot of that has come through the EOC
okay.
and we've not had to pay for it.
But could we stockpile some in case we have a reoccurrence?
We do have some things, but if we pay for extra other things, some of it can also be reimbursed through FEMA. And you can't put it on both. So we have to sit down, Melissa has a file, Kim, Melissa, Billy and I are going to sit down and figure out which is going to go for work where, because if it can go to FEMA, they might can pay for some things that this other will not pay for, and vice versa.
Well, when you're sitting down and making that list and considering things, I would think about the November election coming up, because there's probably going to be a requirement to sterilize after every person votes. So if you'll keep that in mind.
Well, since you brought that up, I spoke with the elections director last Friday about the meeting you requested. And I also spoke with her and asked her to come in and meet with Kim and I about that, because she said that they had actually had a conference call last week with the state. The state has indicated they might have some money to help pay for some barriers, but they weren't really sure what all they could spend their money on either yet. She's yet to come in and speak with us about that, and I've told her that she needed to come in, because if it needed to be ordered, but since everyone's going to have to order stuff, we need to go ahead and get it ordered. We'll have to find the money, because then that money will be a reimbursable expense. And I have not yet heard about the meeting next Tuesday at 5:30.
And just to clarify, because creating the county is probably good sometimes, that's probably not a good word to use, Kim. But since we're under contract with EMS, we couldn't, and they quarterly how they spend their money. Because they're not a direct.
But we don't think that
The mayor. Can we deny the chair's motion?
There's a motion on the floor that I made.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, why
well,
can't
you
we
kind of
just,
have to stop if the public can't listen.
Right.
That's the thing with this.
so we're back, in order and in session. I had asked if Commissioner Hostler would direct the county manager to write letters, and she suggested both the state and federal leaders. We have congressmen, senators, as well as our state representative,
And
Howard
so,
Hunt.
and a senator.
Bob Steinberg.
Of course, this week there was also a county assembly day, where you could talk to your representatives as well. That the, North Carolina Association of County Commissioners had organized.
Is that motion, you made it a motion or was that read to?
I may go to directive, as he said he wanted a directive, not a.
Okay, so we don't need to
Yeah,
say
get a motion, we don't need a motion for that. Any other discussion as pertaining to, reaching out to our federal partners and state partners for funds to make the county strong?
Do I, if I may, Mr.
Sure.
Chair, on the county manager report, continue. Are you gonna talk about the fund that we talked about at our last budget meeting as part of the fiscal stuff or the information we requested?
All of that, I figured would be under budget.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, concerns, county manager's report? All right, we'll go to the tax report.
Do we need to unmute him? Okay.
Am I there?
Yes, Chris.
Good day.
Good evening. Well, first off, tax collector's report. This is for April the 1st. As you, we took in right at $72,000 for the month of April. Our collection rate is about where it was last year, right at 95%. Hopefully between this month and next month, we get that up to 99%, what it usually is. Are there any questions about the report?
Appreciate you getting it in, and if I'm not mistaken, our clerk is the one that recommended it, moving this date so that you'd have plenty of time to have these figures for us. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. And they gave me time to go ahead and get this together. Everybody would be on the same page.
Very well. And we thank our clerk for bringing that to our attention.
I know there were some questions. Yeah, thank you, Melissa. I know there were some questions in the budget meeting around the projected tax figures for 21. I know Mr. Owens had some questions and Mr. Jones had some questions that I wasn't there to address. I'll preface that by saying the values that were run by our by BITEC, our data provider, did not include, and we didn't know this until after last week, that it did not include the figures from the town of Gatesville. So those numbers have been added back to the report that I gave to the county manager on Monday. And if she wants to expand on that, she can, or I can, or.
And I'd like to add, you did forward that to us by email. So I want to thank the county manager for doing that.
And all the new numbers that he provided are first page under tab A.
In the book.
Yes, in the budget book, I'm sorry. So we can discuss that later if you want, or if you have a question for Chris.
So it went up,
Yes, we
not
did.
down. Thank you.
Yes, if he included, well, registered motor vehicles went down.
I'm talking about the 1 cent, the amount
Oh,
per 1
yes.
cent.
Yes, but Chris, I did ask Chris, the registered motor vehicles on the projections he gave me, it was 92 million and this is 82 million. And we discussed it, and remember, people did not have their cars inspected necessarily for the last few months. So that has caused this number to go down.
Now, wouldn't 1920 go down and 2021 go up? Because all those cars are supposed to be inspected after the 5 months.
But it's not in the system right now. This is the exact number he told me he pulled from whatever the DMV system is.
Yeah, that number came directly from the North Carolina vehicle tax system. And that was rerun on. And so
It was right here.
that's what they're projecting for, the upcoming year. There is a delay. I'm not sure how much you all have heard about it, but there is going to be a 5-month delay for registrations. And that started in March. So if you had a March registration that was due in March, they pushed that out until August. And then they're going to roll that through December. So, folks don't have to pay that tax and tag. They've got a kind of a 5-month window to do that. So that's part of the figure they've done on that.
So we do anticipate that number going up.
That's why I was thinking it would be less this year, Chris, because people are gonna wait and not spend the money now. They're gonna hold off as long as they can. So I would think that 2021 would go up.
Right, but that's the number that, yeah, I'm sure it will go up, just like we've discovered a lot of personal property that was not in the system last year. We spent the first 3 months when I started in October. Taylor and I started in October. We spent the first 2.5 months discovering personal property that was not on the books of last year, the year before. So I anticipate that personal property value to go up as well, but I don't have a way to gauge that and figure that at this time. But I do know that those motor vehicle fees will go up and the personal property values will go up as well. I just don't have a way to gauge that at this time.
One last question, Chris, if I may, well, maybe more so for Kim. We're pretty sure these numbers will go up, but I think Chris or Natalie said that they were pulled from the DMV site. With the expected sales tax loss or no loss or decreases, that's a ballpark figure that each county can use based off of emails. So we could use 5 cents or we could use 25% or 20%. Do we have to use this number? Is that one of the mandated numbers, or could we say we're going to keep registered vehicles at the same as last year and have $11,000 more dollars, $11 million more dollars in to help balance our budget?
11 million more.
We
value.
have always used this number based on what I have read. You use these numbers that come from this system.
I didn't know if it was mandated or something. We're talking $2 million deficit. That's $11 million.
That I'm not sure of, because the DMV tax is a little different than with the sales tax. The sales tax is, based on your spending, and that can fluctuate. But we do use the reports that come from the DMV site that he is referring to. I mean, over in the finance office each month.
But you see what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
I know what you're saying.
We know it's going to go up. Well, we're planning on it. So why not go,
But if it doesn't go up, I mean, you just never know.
Your opportunity to tax.
It's
Comes
easier
once a
to
year.
increase a budget than reduce it later on.
Chris, I have a question. Are you still there with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you said, and so 5 months, so in March, those people have till August on the automobile.
Yes, sir.
The people in April, are they getting September?
Yes, sir. It'll roll 5 months out from each month starting in March, and that'll carry through December. So your last month of, I guess would be August or September would be due in, it would be August, would be due in.
March will be extended to August, but we probably won't get those funds until September.
Correct. I would assume so. Yes, sir. And another problem that comes in with that is if I'm not sure how fast we're going to work on establishing a property tax rate. But with the DMV, if we don't have a property tax rate established by July 24th, then that causes an even bigger problem, because if folks get their registration, it's going to be based on last year's tax rates. They pay that the DMV kicks that back out as a refund, and that could take 2 or 3 weeks to get back, and then they'd have to pay it again, and then the new bill would have to be created by our office, and that's going to cost us 50 cents per bill to the DMV plus whatever postage and that type of thing would go along with it.
Well, one plus is those people whose tags and taxes are due in March, April, May, and June, we'll actually collect on them twice in 2021.
Correct.
So,
Yeah,
so I'm going to ask a dumb question.
yeah.
All right. Kim, we initially started out a week ago at a $2.1 million deficit with our budget. And we're down to maybe $1 million or so dollars with the last email we got. But if we went up on registered motor vehicles, $2 million, we could have a balanced budget and not furlough or reduction in force or do anything to anything. Is that right? Anybody, excuse me. Would that make sense in my quick math I was doing on my phone?
Well, I have a quick question for Chris, based on the comment of we're collecting it twice if the folks are behind. Aren't our fees also based on a percentage of the money collected that we pay each month? Or it's deducted out of the amount that we receive from motor vehicles? Is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Could you say that again, Kim?
When
In
we
layman's
receive, okay, monthly, when we receive our money from the DMV for what they've collected for the county,
Taxes.
for the taxes. There's also credit card, there's like credit card fees associated with that. There's a percentage for them processing it for us. So right now, in the tax department, in their expense line where it says motor vehicle fees, for this year, we budgeted that would cost a little over 34,000. Right now, we have spent 8,000. So that's always deducted out of what we receive from motor vehicles each month. So I'm thinking if we're collecting more, we're also going to be, keep in mind, we're going to be paying a little
But
bit
we were
more.
anticipating that
Right.
anyway, percentage wise.
Right, because that is one of the line items that had to go up because we had already we had to do a budget amendment this year to increase that expenditure line.
It's not a huge amount, but I just
Sure.
didn't want you to think it's just a straight, we're
Yes,
collecting
yeah.
that money without any fees
Without any
associated.
cost.
But my question is still, Jack, we're talking $9 million less than last year. We increased that $2 million. Is
Now, that's value there. Those aren't.
that value or
Yeah,
tax receipt?
That's
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 value.
I thought it was tax value.
No, that's why when you said 2 million,
I
I
got
thought
you.
I had, no,
I was looking at, that was the amount of taxes received.
no.
That's the value
Yeah,
of the car.
that's what the value is. I have calculated out the actual revenue from that would be $632,328 is what our cut would be.
Could you say the number again, Chris?
$632,328.
And that's what that,
That's the number that's on that page. That's that number. That's 97% collection rate.
and this year, it would have been a little bit more, of course.
This year it was 700. So far.
He said seven,
I-
seventy-five.
It's what we have budgeted, is $717,669 in the DMV line for this current fiscal year. And we've collected a little over 629,000
And
in
if
that
you,
line.
and if you count the 92,000, which is what he had on the original form, when I did the original, that was at 97% collection rate. That's $708,958.
708.
708,958,
So
So
we're
it's
talking a difference of
70,000.
76,000 or so total
Right.
of lost revenue potentially based off the DMV
And
Right.
it's always a lag of time they pay Raleigh and for us to get it back.
We always receive it the month after, I think it's around the 15th of the month following the prior month.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, any other questions for Mr. Hill? Not your excuse, sir. Thank you.
I know you want to stay.
All right, any departmental reports? Does anyone want to add anything in? I see that there was one thing that kind of came across, and I don't know if I should mention this as a departmental, maybe county manager can tell me, and that is the FY 21 budget questions. And I guess that would be for all departments, for all employees,
Oh, the survey.
the survey.
That was us. I was gonna mention that. I didn't know you had that on your desk. I sent out the survey to the employees and there were 3 questions. The first one was, if you had a choice, would you rather there be furloughs or reduction in force? And as of 5:15, we found the document, as of about 5:15 this afternoon, 54 people had responded, and 42 of them said furlough, 7 said reduction in force. The next question was currently holidays are paid. Would you rather have unpaid holidays or be furloughed without pay? For example, 12 unpaid holidays or 12 furlough days throughout the fiscal year. 29 said furlough, 11 said unpaid holidays. Others provided other comments, basically saying what's the difference, and there is a difference. But also, I finally found an answer from the Federal Office of Personnel Management through the GAO, and they were saying that unpaid holidays was not the best way to go. That was not their recommendation.
They give reason for that.
It was a long, complicated thing, but basically that they felt like it had been interpreted, but they did not provide legal advice. That was just their interpretation from the federal government. That even though the Fair Labor Standards Act says you do not have to pay holidays, they said that they felt like you did. But there would be a difference based on some of the comments and some of my thought process. There is a difference between unpaid holidays and if you get 12 additional days during the year. But either way, the Office of Personnel Management said that if you have a holiday and you're furloughed the day before and the day after, then you don't get paid for the holiday. So
We've been through this.
there makes a difference. And then the last question was, do you have any suggestions on how to save money for Gates County? And I did not finish compiling all of those.
Now, how did, you said there was a survey, but what do we,
That was used through SurveyMonkey, so
okay,
it's
survey, okay,
anonymous.
so that's one they can just put in.
Right, it's anonymous. There were a variety of answers to that last one, some of which we've already discussed, some of which I had ideas about, 1 or 2 that I had not really thought a whole lot about, because the savings, I think, would be very nominal, but they can be discussed later in the budget.
That's good, the more ideas you get, it's worth it.
Any other questions? Will the commissioners be provided a copy of those answers on the survey? Is that a
I had
question?
not planned on it. I can compile it. I have to cut and paste all 54 answers because we use the free version. So it won't compile it for us.
Free version.
Hey, you save money.
Yeah. That's just a question for the commissioners.
You might not want to read some of the comments.
Ooh.
Well, I've got a long comment by a disgruntled county employee, and I'll have Madam Clerk make some copies and furnish for all the commissioners.
Well, if you got that, then you might not mind seeing some of the other
Yeah.
ones then.
Well, I mean,
Ray, you don't have, to. You still got your name up there, Ray. You did it.
I remember a former sheriff sending us something that
Look like that?
had his name on it,
Was that one page, two page?
that it was anonymous.
So,
I'm sure Madam former chairman remembers.
Well,
so if you
I-
want,
I-
I can compile them, but,
I would like to see it.
okay.
I think it's important.
I was gonna keep it open through the end of the week, just so that people could have more time, and then I know there were a few who had said they were gonna attempt to watch, if not tonight, but then over the next 2 days, so they might have some more comments after they hear what we talk
And you
about.
said 54 have responded out of how many other?
Well, I sent it to everyone who had an email, so that is 100, so it's like 99, but not, or 95, but not everyone's at work. There are some, you know, who have been off this week. for
72
various reasons.
full-time.
We're gonna figure out how many county employees there is before we get to the meetings.
It keeps changing.
It changes every meeting, I swear.
So let me go one step further in talking about compiling the
Mhm.
list. And you said you sent it to everyone that had an email. Naturally, I understand that because it's used a monkey. But those people who don't have an email address, if we could get,
They've been told how they can access it.
okay, because they need to be heard.
Who wouldn't have email?
The water department, they don't use a computer, but I talked to Timmy today and I told him he needs to share it with them and give them the opportunity.
I think it's important that they understand and realize that we are listening to them. If that's the mechanism that we use. then
Yeah,
we
I
should
think it's a
reach
good
them.
idea to hear from them.
And,
Contact Mike.
and it's transparent.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
I think a survey was a good idea, and that's why I wanted to bring it to the county manager's attention as well as to my colleagues here. But I do think it would be nice for us to have the results of that survey, so our county employees know that we have taken a look at it,
Mhm.
listened to what the county manager has to say, and analyzed. So,
And maybe even at our next meeting, maybe even go into closed session and discuss what
Some of the
we,
themes that run through it.
Right.
Because if we're going to consider furloughs or reduction of force or anything that affects them financially, we should listen to them, no matter whether it's a survey, public hearing, or whatever it is. We need to make sure we do that.
well
But it
said.
gives us a snapshot.
It does.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you sent the survey. That's good.
Yeah, and that's why I thought maybe it was a good opportunity to bring it up and from our departmental reports. And I'll have Madam Clerk make a solid copy of this room and pass
Maybe
these out.
maybe she could, Mr. Chair, maybe someone administratively can put it in by department. If we know what,
No,
if it's
This is
anonymous.
completely anonymous.
Okay.
That was the way I told them it would be. I figured I'd get better
That's good.
response. It doesn't even share IP addresses, even though I don't know anyone's IP address, but it even scrubbed IP address.
Well, even though they're anonymous, I think, and we want to see it, but we still need to, whoever puts it together, if it's somebody who assists you, they need to do it confidential, with confidentiality
Mhm.
in mind too. All right, glad you did that, Dan. That's good.
Very well. Any other discussion about or departmental reports? We have. Now from the public hearing. The repeal of the personnel ordinance, and I know we have kicked that up and down the road a few times, and any thoughts, processes?
Do we have a motion to go into public hearing now?
Yes, because it's listed on here. Melissa told me she's received comments, but it was not about the
What
personnel
about this?
ordinance. No.
So.
All right, is there a motion to go into public hearing? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I make a motion, we enter a public hearing in regards to repealing the personnel ordinance, Mr. Chair.
Motion on the floor to go into public hearing. Right. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, go to public hearing. Discussion?
Well, actually, we're in public hearings. That's what the comments are.
No,
Okay.
she came to let me know there's some comments for public comments at the end,
Okay.
but she did not have any for this.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we go out of the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to remove ourselves from public hearing. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, we stand out of public hearing. Discussion as pertaining to the repeal of personnel ordinance.
Well, my thoughts are we've kicked it down the road several times. If there is a concern about it, or it's something you don't like, is it what? Tell us what it is and give us your solution. So we can, right now, we're in, the personnel policy we have, we've already been told it was too general, it's good drive a Mack truck through it. So we really need to have one that is, the lawyers have told us to be more guidelines on how the procedures and all. And so, I don't want to be here next year and we'll still work on personnel.
And if I might clarify some of the terms we're using too, Madam Commissioner, is that we're saying ordinance and we need to change the ordinance to a policy, if I'm not
Correct,
mistaken.
yeah, and I might have used the wrong terminology and I
It's
apologize.
okay, I knew you didn't do it on purpose.
Thank you. Because it's easier to change a policy than an ordinance.
Any other discussion or as pertaining to it? I know that back when, or at least on a former meeting, we had several issues and several pages, if I'm not mistaken, and several comments. And some that kind of resonate just a tad with me were human resources, leave. I think Commissioner Jones brought up some issues in the personnel ordinance as pertaining to leave. They're the only things that I can think of right now, but there were several pages documented that I wanted to review.
And I think in our second meeting, didn't we clarify the leave problems?
Yes,
Like, people who had, it was a holiday and they were on leave, they still got the holiday at some time.
yes, you bet spend about 2 hours.
I was hoping we weren't going to talk about
I
that.
know, I thought we had solved that.
If we can go 2 more hours tonight to go on to it. Y'all cut me off last time.
You
I already
didn't,
had dinner, I'm good.
But that was, we kind of, I thought we got that one solved.
I think we got that one solved. The one that still resonates with me, to use Freeman's terminology, is HR. And I think I made the comment the first time I saw it about 2 months ago, that that needs to be clarified. And I think I made a suggestion that back then that, if we had to, and we don't have to pass this policy, we must revisit it and clarify HR. That was my sticking point, and it hasn't been resolved, so it's still my sticking point.
if I may, in the personnel ordinance, it still outlines, it's very similar in the same policy. I mean, it still talks about the county manager or a appointed HR person, even in the ordinance that we currently have.
I understand that. It's still questions in my mind about HR and how it is delineated in the policy, but it's a policy or an ordinance. That's just me.
Mhm.
That's my position and it has not changed.
Okay,
And I do recall Commissioner Riddick, you bringing that up in that discussion.
And if we do pass it, Mr. Chair, if I remember correctly, not from the 2 hour meeting, but there's additional money that would be involved right now if we did pass it.
And as I stated in the email last week, you can remove that section that refers to longevity pay, because that was a discussion, the meeting where the 4 of you attended, that said, you either put it in there or you take it out, and you said put it in there. So you can remove that in light of what is taking place now.
Do I recall figure around $18,000 was what the part that dealt with longevity? Is that fair?
I think that is close.
And I remember my comment, a lot of things have changed budget wise. But I'll just go back and reflect on what my comment was that longevity is one of those things when you're taking a position coming from one employer to the county to be a county employee, you look at the benefits. And longevity is one of those things, you can say, well, we can't have merit pay this year, we can't have COLA this year. But longevity is one of those things that was really in the decision when that person was deciding to leave their current employer and come with the county. And I didn't feel like that needed to be suspended, taken away, given it back, and that kind of thing. And I still feel pretty strongly about that. And I know we're looking for nickels and dimes and dollars.
But we don't have longevity right now, though.
Correct.
Yes,
Well,
right.
so
So we're not taking it away.
Right, so if somebody that started here 20 years ago, they've never seen the money, so we're not taking that.
Right.
You're not taking anything away.
And I do recall you talking about that as being an attraction
To draw them, yeah.
to draw.
Thank you.
Not only to keep a foot. but to
Right,
draw.
yeah. And we've exhausted our conversation about this. I really feel like that's probably all I'm going to say about the topic. And I'm going to listen to my colleagues.
Well, if you turn to page 3, we'll start, Jack. I'm just messing. So our options, Mr. Chair, are to pass the Gates County personnel policy, if amended the way we want to amend it, taking out different sections, or to do nothing and we keep what we've got for the time being. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. There's 2 options that we have. And so I'll be asking what is the pleasure of my colleagues.
So if we don't want to do anything, it doesn't require a motion or anything. We just proceed to new business. Is that right?
Roger that. Yes, sir.
If it does not pass, I will let you know that as soon as we can advertise, there will be changes that are being brought forth to you for the personnel ordinance based upon attorney's advice.
Our attorney,
No, based upon all the attorneys that I've had to talk to over the past 3 years for various legal reasons, when they have read our policy and based upon comments that they've made. And so you will be seeing some of the information from this personnel policy presented to be put into our personnel ordinance.
So as they read our policy or read our ordinance?
As they read our ordinance, but the policy has also kind of been drafted around what they have recommended.
it's just, so let me ask some deeper questions. So these attorneys, are they LGC?
They have been recommended by the LGC, yes.
So you've sought attorney's advice on our ordinance?
Not for ordinance. Whenever there have been legal questions that have come up recently for various cases, and I have had to contact them, they always say, send me your personnel ordinance. And they have, and I have been told, well, that's kind of, doesn't really tell me a whole lot.
So vague or too general, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? So you're saying that you're going to take the position that if we don't approve the policy, you're going to take the position that you're going to present us with documentation to protect us, to protect yourself, to protect the county? Which way is that?
All of it, so that it will be incorporated into the personnel ordinance.
If we choose to.
Yeah.
We can still not do it.
Right, you can still not do it, and then every time I will let you know that that an attorney, if I have to consult with someone, has provided that same feedback.
And they've already documented, you already have that documented from those.
I have some
So we don't
comments,
really. need
and
to
some
talk
of
about
it's
it.
just, on conversation with me.
But we don't have any record of that already.
That's why I said, some of it's just conversations with me.
You getting this information, if you choose to do that,
Mhm.
you're not creating a bill for the county from an attorney.
No, because it's already being paid through other means. Whenever we have contacted them through the NCACC helpline.
Yeah, you have services provided by
Right,
Do we have an attorney?
yes.
Mr. Godwin.
I thought so. Okay.
Mr. Chair, my personal opinion, not that y'all care about it all the time, or sometimes, we got a budget to work on and a budget shortfall, where we're talking about employees' lives and county citizens' lives. I'm okay with not doing anything to the personnel policy at this time, and then the county manager, give us the info that she already has, that we don't have yet, and then we may look at it in a few months after we get a balanced budget. That's my personal opinion.
Any other discussion?
Well, to me, this came out of the MAP study, basically. When we did the salary study, if you looked at your MAP book that you got at that particular point in time, they went over our personnel ordinance and they did a personnel policy for, at that time, as part of the deal. And then it was a group of the department heads was part of a committee that went over it, correct?
Yes.
I believe.
Department heads and employees.
Department heads and employees, and then it was been given to us. And we've had several meetings on it. We've made some corrections about things that we didn't like, but and we have been informed when we had some legal issues over the years. We had not really had a grievance. Most of the people who've had a problem has gone straight to a lawyer.
After they left important.
Actually left employee, and lawyers have told us, our ordinance is not very strong on that. So I really do think we need to do something. Like I say, the MAP study, if you kind of look at what they said, what this group of directors and employees came up with to give to us. And whatever this hang up is, if we need to make a HR person to be in charge of the grievance system, whatever, we can do that. I just don't like to keep, kicking the can down the street. We dealt with this for 6 months? It's been a while. That's my opinion. I just like to solve problems. And if someone has a solution, let's just hear what you want in it or what you want to take out of it. That's my opinion. I'm ready to get it off my mind.
Thank you, Matt. Any other discussion? Fellow commissioners, colleagues? Is there a motion? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, the old business. That would be the personnel policy.
But then there is no old business since you refuse to take action.
Okay.
Since we decided not to take that.
Yes.
And maybe, while I did hit that, and since there's none other, I do feel like it would be important, as I'm hearing from the commissioners, certainly Commissioner Jones and, Commissioner Hoffman, Commissioner Riddick as well, that it would be of benefit to the commissioners to see what those attorneys from school of government have written.
They're
And
not from the
offset.
School of Government.
Oh, who, the LGC?
There are various attorneys throughout the state, and some of it was just verbal.
Okay, no, even not. any.
Some of it might be an email, and some of it might be in documents they've sent that are in my office, but
All right, that would
some
be.
of it was verbal that they told me, this tells me nothing. And for example, the FMLA policy in there needs to be updated because it has not been updated since probably the personnel ordinance was passed. It's one of the examples.
And who would have been in charge of that, of the FMLA policy, keeping that up for ordinance?
Whoever, it's been at various points and times of whoever's done it. The whole ordinance needs to be revamped, which was the reason the policy was part of the MAPS group study that we paid for. So,
All right, well, anyway, if we don't have any documentation, maybe it would be well for us to have that ordinance. And I think I heard Commissioner Hopper say that by whatever standing we have with the government, that we could submit that and get their feedback with no fee at all from the attorneys. Did I hear that correctly?
No,
Oh, I didn't?
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I just said that I thought that dealing with some of the issues in the past with people who had left employment and, talked about personnel ordinance, I knew there was problems and the attorneys had said that, our policy was just so, really didn't have any meat on the bones, a lot of it, that we needed a policy. And I do remember that when we did the salary study to make sure our salaries were in line, we also asked the MAP people to look at our ordinance and suggest a policy. And I do remember that that a group of people in the department heads, I think we made 3 or 4, some employees, went through that, what MAP has said, and came up with what we had been given, is the best of my recollection. And it was given to us.
And I'm probably mistaken, but I thought you said something about payment or fees by attorneys.
No.
Yeah.
Who
that's,
said?
I mentioned that when. And then, Ms. Hopper, I may, her and Natalie both interjected that when we've had a couple of situations with these terminated employees that after they left, that LGC recommended some attorneys,
the NCACC.
recommended some attorneys for her to seek advice on, to know how to do the right thing, the proper thing and all of that.
Right.
But there was no charge. And probably Natalie's got emails from them and probably notes is what you're
Right.
referring to.
There's a charge through the NCACC. I don't get a bill from that attorney that says this many hours. For example, as we do when we use our
Probably
county
part of our
attorney.
dues, isn't it?
Right, it's when we use our county attorney, we ask him to review documents, then we get billed for how many hours he reviews it. That's not what these attorneys do because it's part of the NCACC dues and the setup that they have. And then when they take the case on, we don't pay that, but eventually when we pay all of our other insurances and everything, that's how we pay for it.
And Commissioner Owens and I have been on the personnel board, so we were more aware of that maybe than some.
Some exposure.
Well, one question I have then, do you think through that process that those attorneys would look at those
Right.
ordinances? They would not.
No. They look at what you have in place, what you currently operate by.
Well,
And to touch on the FMLA, that's going to be constantly changing. Things like that change, every year, every other year. So there's going to be constant updating, needed to that. But as Natalie alluded to, ours is probably really outdated in that area. But we can get there.
All right.
I think we've moved on.
All right, yes, so number 7, no, I'm sorry, number 8, new business. Approval of regional hazard mitigation plan.
And Billy is online, and while Billy's unmuting, this is the 25 pages that pertain to Gates County out of the entire document. I know 2 commissioners said, Billy, they want the abbreviated Cliff Notes version instead of the 25 pages, but they are here if someone wants to come and look at all of them.
Good day, Mr. Went.
Good
Nice
afternoon.
to have you.
Thank you. The abbreviated version is, this is a plan that is required every 5 years through FEMA. If we don't have a approved hazard mitigation plan, then there is a chance that we wouldn't receive FEMA funds following a natural disaster. So last time, like 5 years ago, the last time this was done, there was a contractor, and we managed the contract for the 9 counties.
Billy, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. Hold
You're
on.
stuttering.
There's a contractor, and we
There's a delay in the video.
Can't imagine just muted you.
No, it's frozen here too. Do we need to quit casting probably? You think that might?
Mr. Chairman, can we take a 5-minute recess? Is that
I
possible?
have, yes, sir, we may. I've been asked, we will stand in recess for 5 minutes.
A real recess, a real recess.
A real reason.
10 minutes.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant.
All right, everyone's back. Commissioner Jones, are you back from?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
very well.
If Billy can start, I had told Billy he could start over because he was breaking up. We're no
Okay.
longer casting to the TV because we think that was part of the problem.
Okay, so we're just audio?
Well, no, everyone else can see
Okay,
us.
right. We
You
just don't
just
have to
can
monitor.
hear.
And we can hear Billy,
Yes,
correct? And he can hear us.
yes.
We don't want to see Billy.
This was
sir.
done, wasn't it? We won't.
All right, can you hear me now?
Billy,
Honorable Mr. Nguyen, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Obviously not, because
He's in the wind.
Billy,
I'm here and I can hear you.
it shows he is unmuted.
We just pass them, make a motion to pass it, Ray, and move on.
Billy,
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Turn your volume up.
okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we had to turn the volume up on the computer. We forgot to do that.
Okay. The hazard mitigation plan as it's presented to you is for 7 counties. Historically, we've had to do that on our own. The last time it was done 5 years ago, we managed a grant that did it for 9 counties. This time, the North Carolina Emergency Management managed the grant, hired a contractor, and they produced the hazard mitigation plan, which is required by FEMA for us to receive any monies following a natural disaster. The 25 pages that are on the front table are the annex that are specifically for us. There are 500 additional pages. We have reviewed it and don't have any problems with it. We would like for you to pass it as you have it, and there's a resolution that needs to be submitted.
And that resolution is in your packet.
So that, very well. Any questions for Mr. Nguyen?
I have no questions, Mr. Nguyen. I'd like to make a resolution. Got it.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution for the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
I will second that motion, Chair.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Like sign for negative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Better make sure you
Under new business, item B, approval to move forward with code right planners, updating and reorganization of the code of ordinance.
Yes, that is Lisa, and she is joining us as well. Lisa?
She and Billy may be together.
No, she's sitting in her office. Lisa?
Here.
Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can y'all hear her?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
turned up as loud as it'll go on the, so, okay, go ahead.
Can you
Lisa.
hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, I can go ahead. All right, there's quite a delay. All right, tonight, I think in front of you, you have the proposal from Code Right Planners, and this was submitted due to an RFP that we had out, and they actually were our lowest bidder as well. And after review and evaluation, the Code Right Planners LLC, their proposal covers everything we need. And this is in order to comply with North Carolina Session Law 2019-111 and North Carolina General Statutes Chapter 160D. And the total task and the budget proposed by the respondent, Code Right Planners, is $17,500, and it covers everything and even exceeds the request that we put out. So we would like permission to proceed with this in order to meet compliance. Is there any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Hey, Lisa, this question is probably more geared toward Kim. 17.5, Where's this money gonna come from?
It comes from the general fund, and it's a requirement by the state law that it has to be completed by August 1st now, correct, Lisa?
Yes, that is correct.
And we had anticipated in the original budget 35,000. And in this budget, it actually says 18,000 in case there was anything that they ran into that needs to be adjusted. I know Lisa, would you like to tell them about some of the discussion questions that have come up on the listserv between the School of Government and planners about the session law and inconsistencies that have been found?
Yes, there are some inconsistencies. So the legislature is still working to vote on, getting all that correct in order for these to be written. And we're fortunate here with this particular proposal. They are on the North Carolina Legislative. They're a chair, and I think that would benefit us greatly in order to meet and hopefully exceed, the compliance, and also give us a chance to incorporate, some ordinances that will come along. They're going to help us to improve, some things that may be left out at the moment, such as prohibitions and things like that, as far as what people can do in the county and what business or what they can build on their land, basically. So it really is something that needs to be done. We were granted, like I think Natalie said, it's hard for me to hear, but it was extended 6 months due to the legislature voting due to COVID-19 and all that going on. So, but it didn't provide us with 6 months, so it didn't actually provide us a whole other budget year, basically. So I feel that this request, hopefully, if it would be approved, that this would be a great benefit to the county, and they're combining and reorganizing and going over all of our ordinances to make them more complete and to mesh, of course. So I hope that you'll consider that.
So
Yes, sir.
if I may continue, later, sorry to interrupt, sir. I'm looking at our budget book that we got tonight, and it shows $35,000 requested, line item 114910-199 professional services with 4 asterisks. That's the RFP that's estimated. So then that would drop 17.5 and free up a few $1,000s. That's the only professional services that would be in next year's budget.
For that line,
Yes,
For that line.
yes, that's correct.
And it's a requirement by general statute that we pass this.
Yes.
Compliant?
Yes, she presented this at the February budget meeting, and that's when we thought it was going to be 35. And actually, Lisa, we received, 2 at 30 and 35, and 1 at over $100,000.
Yes, we had one at 155 and at 30. Yes, I'm sorry.
And I saw where this group had done Camden and someone else in our neighborhood.
Yes.
Atlantic Beach, I
Yes.
think. I was kind of surprised.
And Chowan, I believe.
Madam Planner, for my purposes and I hope for my colleagues here, what attracted them to Gates County?
Well, actually, they had done the Camden's UDO, which was very extensive. That was a huge one they did locally. And they've done some other things locally as well. And I've been in conversations with Chad before, and he had actually looked at some of our ordinances to see, where we might have some shortfalls and where it was great. And he had an intention and a desire to bid. And we appreciated that. And I did call and even talk to one of the counties that they had actually done this work for, and it was positive. So it was great.
I just wasn't sure whether or not it was Mill Pond or anything of that nature, that because of the number of visitors we have at Mill Pond yearly.
And Lisa, your recommendation is to go with them, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, and they'll be doing all the work when they meet, and I was looking over the plan and stuff. Will there be any communication meetings with current boards? Or this
Yes.
just them working independently by themselves, Lisa?
Yes, it will be. They have proposed to meet with the planning board and the board of commissioners, and any updates. I think they've included 3 meetings each, and then as many virtual as we would need. And this is actually, I'm not sure if we'll, negotiate any more difference in times, but we have a really tight schedule, and, they have appeared to meet that within the proposal with the meetings we would need.
Mr. Chair, if I may, sir,
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion that we move forward with Code Right Planner LLC with updating and reorganization of our code of ordinances as required by the general statute. Sir?
Yes, sir. The motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hear none, so be it.
Thank
Lisa,
you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Lisa, Commissioner Owens here.
yes.
I'm going to have some questions about this. I'll either get with you between this meeting and the next fully live meeting that we have.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
All right, thank you. Have a
Any
good
other
evening.
questions? Commissioners, any other questions for? No questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Under new business C, planning board appointments, and we have the names.
And Mr.
Is,
Chair,
is Lisa still with us?
Lisa, are you still there? If not, I can call.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. They have questions about planning board and board of adjustment.
Okay.
Well, my question is, well, I have several questions. First of all, as we think about planning board, it has been a stated policy or idea that we would have a geographically diverse board.
Yes, we
possible.
strive to have that.
She said, yes, we
Right.
strive to have that.
That would be a try. And people who are eligible for another term, there are no problems with, they have been attending the meetings from the previous year and all.
Yes, everyone is in good standing.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know as well.
can we do all 3 or we need to do them all separate for record people, Lisa? Or does it matter?
I think as a board, I believe we can do them all together if we so desire.
I would like to just say that if you look at the map of the Gates County for the planning board, if you notice that the southeastern portion of our county is unrepresented. Of course, I know you know that's where I serve with the Huntersville, Middensville area. And we do have a candidate from that area that I would like for y'all to consider. And that is Kevin McInnes.
Mr. Chair, if I may piggyback off Commissioner Hopper, there's also, as sort of to piggyback off of her, the geographical diversity as well as diversity should come into play. And we've got 6 applicants that have applied for 3 spots. 2 of them are reappointments and 4 of them are new applicants. And it looks like, based off of my research, that 2 of them live in townships that already are represented, and 2 of them do not. I don't see with Mr. Sherwood Easton going off the board, there is no representation for Gatesville either. Based off of my research, I would like to make a motion that we reappoint or appoint, I guess it would be reappoint or appoint. Now,
It depends on the name.
okay. Well, I like to make a motion that we appoint Brian Silvers from Gatesville where there is no current representation to the planning board.
But the only thing, you know, I
That
was,
was
I was.
a motion. It's not discussed.
Yeah, the motion on the floor. Do I hear a second now? Are you saying the other two?
Well, if we can do all three, I'll make them, I'll amend my motion, Mr. Chair, that we reappoint William Siling of Gates and Nathaniel Thomas of Four Peak. And we also appoint Brian Silvers to represent the Gatesville area, which does not have representation. So that would be my amended motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, is that that's the only motion? All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second.
Okay, I do not
Discussion.
see, and I didn't pick up the hard copies, but did you receive an application from Mr. Thomas?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
then she may have put it in your book. I just know electronically, I did not remember seeing it. And I knew she received
I didn't.
several besides Carol
They were
Ward's.
coming in late.
after.
Yeah, she was, that was one that we had emailed to.
Okay,
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hopper commented early on about a standing, not necessarily protocol, but history and call it tradition, whatever. And Ms. Cherry said that everybody on the board was in good standing. So we have 6 applicants for 3 positions. So are we automatically as a board, and I have no objection, I just want to be clear. People who, Mr. Silings would be a reappointment. And who was it?
Reverend Thomas.
Nathaniel
And
Thomas.
Nathaniel Thomas would be a reappointment, right? Okay. So we're really only voting on one position.
Well,
As a new appointment.
So you have to appoint
We have-
all three.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have to
right,
put all
yeah.
three, because remember, year before last, there was a current planning board member up for reappointment did not get reappointed by the previous commissioner.
Right.
One.
Well, yeah, we all have conversation with the 6 people. Some we may have conversation with, some we might not have. But if we do it this way with doing the appointments of 3 people, I mean, we're getting ready to vote, but nobody has made a motion to close the nominations. I think that's where we could get into, because there's going to be one of the people I've talked to who wants to serve, and I'm encouraged for them to serve, not against any of the 3, but certainly that person's name is going to come up today because of the conversation I had with him. So if we go ahead and vote on this, like we're talking about with the 2 motions, with the motion and the second, we're going to have filled positions before my nomination, the position comes up. You follow me?
But the force of
That would be
nomination.
that would be much like if I closed the nomination as soon as I heard the name.
That's right.
Which would be right.
That's right.
So the force to look for nominations, though.
So would it be proper, now we're setting precedents here going forward because we're talking about it. Would it be more appropriate if we acknowledge that Mr. Silings and Nathaniel Thomas are reappointed because they're in good standing and they apply, and then open the floor for nominations for that one position left up?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Owens, I believe so, or we can go one by one.
But there's still a motion on the floor.
Yeah, there's a
But all
motion.
3,
And second,
Unless it's
and a
withdrawn.
motion has been seconded.
and on the second. So we can either withdraw the motion and open up,
Or the
do
vote
one by
can be
one,
called and the other parties, any other parties' names we can get.
or another motion you put on the floor, there'll be multiple motions.
But if we vote on what the motion is right now and it passes,
Then it's done.
It's done.
then there was never an opportunity for another candidate's name to be put in motion.
Unless somebody makes a motion before
Right.
the motion is closed, the floor is closed.
Can't make a
You
motion
can't
in
make a
discussion.
motion if there's already motion on the floor.
So, Mr. Chairman, not to complicate things. To
Complicated
to
Complicated
uncomplicate.
enough, yes,
I
sir.
believe that we need to lean on our member that's made a motion and the member that's made a second to ask them courtesy of withdrawing their motion the way it's framed.
Mr. Chair,
And I think they hear you, Commissioner Owens. Yes, sir.
go ahead, no, you go ahead, sir. Eight before beauty, go ahead.
No, I'm just acknowledging what Commissioner Owens said.
Okay. If okay with Commissioner Riddick, I will amend my motion. And I can do that, correct?
You can, or you can
Or
withdraw.
you can withdraw.
Or you can withdraw.
I will amend my motion that I will nominate Brian Silvers to fill one of the 3 planning board spots.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you call the vote,
Still does the same
will you
thing.
give me latitude here? The
Hang on
proper
a second,
thing, the
yeah,
proper
hang on
thing
a
for us
second.
to do would open the floor for nominations.
Yeah, and that's how it should have been
Yeah.
done.
Open the floor for nominations.
Isn't that what I started out doing that? I made a motion.
No, if I may, if you're both willing to withdraw the motion, and then you would start over and make a nomination for the seat currently held by
Sure.
by William Simon. I nominate so-and-so, and do it by seats.
So word it like that, okay, all right.
That might make it a little bit simpler also for Melissa to keep notes.
We're in agreement.
Okay. So, Commissioner Owens, if you didn't like my motion, sir, I'm gonna ask you,
Mr.
not
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, how I need to amend my motion that's currently on
He's
the
not
floor.
asking you to amend it, to
And I-
withdraw your motion,
Did you
To withdraw it, and
Withdraw.
then,
Withdraw the motion.
and she has to agree to it.
so if I withdraw my motion, then what happens?
Then
Is
you
the
would
first
nominate-
person to speak?
We got to vote on the withdrawal.
So I can amend my motion again, Mr. Chair, that to add some verbiage in for Melissa, I will amend my motion, I think that's what it's called, that for the seat currently being vacated by Sherwood Eason, who is not eligible to serve another term, that Brian Silvers be appointed in that position.
That's really, we're on
That's
the wrong
still
path.
right.
We need to open the floor for
What
nominations.
what he's getting at is he has someone else he wants to nominate for that Gatesville position, or what you're calling the Gatesville
And
seat.
it's not
And
a
if you make
gateway
a-
position.
But we can have one motion on nomination on the floor,
But
right?
you're making a motion, you're not making a
No,
nomination.
so my,
That's why you need to withdraw your
Withdraw.
so
motion.
withdraw the motion and say I would like to nominate.
Nominate, yes.
But first, we got to vote on his withdrawal.
Right.
If Commissioner Riddick will,
I agree.
okay,
Call for the vote on the withdrawal, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
and I did that, Mr. Chair.
There is a motion now to withdraw the motion by Commissioner Jones, and it has been,
Yes, she did agree.
agreed upon with Commissioner Rick.
I would, okay,
Dr.
we're
Riddick,
going to vote.
before, what was that?
Are we voting?
No, then we'll vote.
Okay.
So all in favor with the motion to withdraw the motion and the second? Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, motion is withdrawn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Or
Yes, sir.
Not a
nomination?
nomination.
No, I'd like to make a motion.
Motion,
I make a motion that we open the floor for nominations.
And I'll second Commissioner Owens' motion for nomination.
the motion on the floor to open.
Okay, I would like to make a nomination.
We got to
Yeah,
vote.
We can't go there yet. Right now, there's a motion on the floor to open for nominations for members of the planning board to be appointed. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign, here none, so be it.
Okay, I'd like to make a nomination.
Roger that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, looking at for geographical diversity, that part from Sunbury on down is not represented. Where you do have two people in York and, which is very close to Gatesville. But, you know, that area of this county is different from Gatesville or the other areas, and I do think that they deserve to have a representative on the planning board. They had one when Ron Taylor was there. When he went off, they lost that representative, because, you know, you don't have, six? But I really think we should really consider trying to be geographically diverse.
So what,
With
Jeremy?
Kevin McGinnis. But that's my nomination.
The nomination on the floor and is not mandated by gerrymandering.
So the nomination require a second, like, motion? Okay. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion.
No, you like to
A
nominate.
nomination, because as Commissioner Hopper has stated, I've looked at geographical diversity and diversity for the county. And I would like to nominate for the 7th or 8th time, it sounds like, Brian Silvers from Gatesville, who would fit two of these spots that I think is needed throughout the county.
So now there's a nomination also on the floor. Nomination is accepted by the board, but we are now going to vote on it. Are there any, still open for nominations? Any other nominations?
I move that the nominations be closed.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor, nominations be closed.
Okay, I have a question.
And
Are
that's
we
discussion.
Reappointing the other two?
Well, you've not got to that
Haven't
yet.
got
Okay,
that.
I haven't got to that.
No, that's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, a little confusing, but I'm not trying to be, difficult to deal with, but the planning board needs to look at there's a lot of things on the planning board. I serve on the planning board, I know Commissioner Jones served on the planning board.
So do I.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
I've got, but you were not on there when I was on
You
there,
don't
so.
get
okay.
it.
But, it is an area of the county that I think that, is a lot of it's agricultural. We have some commercial in that area, but I really do think that those citizens in that area deserve to have a voice on that planning board.
So that area could have been more commercial. We'd have passed the Dollar General a few months ago too, by the way. I'll call for the vote, Mr. Chair.
All right, the nominations have been made and now the motions are in effect. There's a motion to call for the vote. The nomination number one, if I'm not mistaken, and I didn't write down the names, but the first nomination was
Kevin McGinnis.
Kevin McGinnis
Okay,
for member of the planning board.
Show of hands.
show of hands.
Want to do a show of hands?
Yeah, because it's,
All right, yeah, okay.
That way it makes it easier for
That way
everyone
we can
watching as
count.
well.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, all in favor, raise their left hand.
And this is for Kevin
For
McKinnon.
Kevin
Yes.
McGinnis. Okay. And now, the
Brian
motion for Brian Silvers. All in favor, raise their right hand.
Good.
And the vote is,
Brian Silver's 3, Kevin McGinnis 2.
all right.
Mr. Chair, I think the board will be okay with me nominating William Siley and Nathaniel Thomas for the other two spots.
Is that the case, fellow commissioners?
so in the future, we're setting precedent. So in the future, we will vote on those, even though they're being reappointed, we'll vote on those as well.
I'm okay with that since they're both reappointed.
On the reappointments?
Show of hands again, please.
Good. All right, there's a motion on the floor for reappointments and also the precedent of from here to four that those reappointments be conjoined. So all in favor for the reappointments of,
One moment. She said there was a request that when you vote only by voice. So speak loud and clear because there's a delay between your hand and the voice and it did not come across very well. And I will repeat, once this vote is taken, the results of the last vote.
So we're gonna voice vote.
You have to voice.
Voice vote.
call the vote. All right. The nominations and now the vote for first nomination was
Can't
Kevin
we go vote
McGinnis.
together?
No, sir, this nomination and that was closed was for Silent and Thomas to refill their positions.
Okay, so we can vote for both of them at the same time.
By
That's
voice
right.
vote.
So that's what this nomination.
Right.
Oh, okay,
And then I'm just gonna repeat the final vote,
all
the
right,
results of the last vote.
roger that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the two names, the two candidates for reappointment, Commissioner Owens votes yes.
Commissioner Riddick, yes.
Commissioner Hopple, yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Jones was yes.
Commissioner Freeman, yes. That is united.
Okay, and the vote, if you did not hear it last time, Brian Silvers had 3 votes, Kevin McGinnis had 2 votes. So Brian Silvers will fill the other position that was vacated on the planning board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank all the applicants for applying and thank the ones that were voted in for their service and the ones who are being replaced for their past service.
Very well. And let that be noted. Plus, tough decision for all commissioners. Board of Adjustment performance. Is there a nomination?
I move that we re-nominate Forrest Parrish and Carol Ward for their second term.
And they are to be conjoined. So
Yes.
those two will be together, and that'll be a nomination for reappointment.
Reappointment.
Roger that.
And that will fill all the seats. Ms. Holly, is that
No.
correct?
There's one more.
There is one more.
Judge Green going off. And that's Foster Parish and Carol Ward.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we've got, those are nominations.
Nomination for
Is the
reappointment.
floor open for, still open for nomination for the other part at this time?
Can
Not
I
yet.
ask Ms. Cherry a question?
Lisa, you still there? There is that delay.
I'm here.
Okay, I have a question, Lisa. On some of these applications, they check more than one thing. Is there any other applicants besides Joseph Perry for the Board of Adjustment?
Yes, Kevin McGinnis said that he would also be interested in the Board of Adjustment. And that's the only other I have.
We're doing the 2 right now.
Yeah, we're doing it too, but I didn't
Doing
know.
the renomination, right?
Right.
And then it'll be, all right.
Did
Excellent.
you call for the vote? Commissioner
Not
Owens?
yet.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Okay.
Renomination.
Yeah, this is nomination. Any discussion about the nominees? Hearing none. Vote aye for the nominee number 1. I forgot who that
We're
was.
doing the
This
vote.
was for
Both of them
Foster
together.
Parish and Carol Ward.
Roger, thank you. Madam.
Together?
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens votes yes.
Commissioner Riddick, yes.
Commissioner Hopple, yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman, yes.
Yeah.
All votes are in?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate for the position being vacated by my good buddy Joe Green, who I think Lisa will say has served many years. Would you agree, Lisa? And took great pride in it.
And we certainly want to thank him. His face will be missed, so will his voice.
But I would like to nominate Kevin McGinnis to the Board of Adjustment, as Lisa Terry has said that he would like to serve on that.
I'll second that nomination. Second that motion, brother. For nomination.
No,
Nomination.
All right, any discussion? Any other nominees?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the nominations be closed if there's none to be forwarded.
The motion to close the nominations is, all in favor, aye.
Commissioner Owens votes aye.
Commissioner Hopple, aye.
Jones, aye.
Mr. Freeman, aye. All votes are in. Please be unanimous. Now for the nomination Board of Adjustment, Kevin McGinnis, is there a motion?
Call the vote, Mr.
Call
Chairman.
vote.
Commissioner Owens votes yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Hopple, yes.
Jones, yes.
Mr. Freeman, yes. All the votes are in. Unanimous. Now for the year C would be for the year 2021 budget. Kind of down.
You have a budget book. Normally you get it when it is a balanced budget. But in order for you to understand some of the cuts and some of the decisions, et cetera, you have been provided this book. I'm not sure exactly what all you want to go over tonight. I will just share a few little highlights. Excuse me. We've already talked about the tax information that Chris Hill provided earlier regarding the corrected numbers, which does increase the 1 cent revenue, or what 1 cent generates, which is $89,320.73. That is written in your book. There are notes, there are budgets for each department. That the first includes their 5% reduction that they were asked to make. Then it's their original budget. And then the last would be if they had any extra wants or need, or any wants, such as extra positions. That is on another budget sheet. I have made notes throughout here. If you can't read something as you were going through your book when you get home, let me know. Some of it I did write in pencil. I believe someone last time had asked about EMS revenue. As of today, EMS has collected through the county finance office $602,458.06.
Natalie, I'm sorry, one more time.
$602,458.06.
And that's a collection so far this year.
That is their collection so far this year. Those are fees. That does not include any money from COVID. That does not include the money that the county has allocated. That is how much they've collected themselves through all sorts of payments.
And if
Transport.
I may interrupt, just for the purpose of us and knowledge coming from our budget meetings last year, those are fees that go directly to finance through our finance officer's hands. But, and I guess we need to explain it anymore, but if any commissioners have questions, I think Kim can probably answer those. Maybe. Any questions about that, how those funds generate and then subsequently come to the county?
Well, I will ask, is there a season or a period or months that accelerated, or is it a pretty Average?
No, I would say it's pretty average. We pay them 2 times a month. The first payment has the county's appropriation, or not appropriation, but the amount that we pay each month based on the total contract, plus any fees collected from the 1st to the 15th of the month. And then at the end of the month, we pay the rest of the fees. So I'm thinking it's pretty even what they get. I mean, we've received some money for them through the debt service, not a whole bunch. So far, what they received for the CARES Act for the COVID, I think it was over 33,000. But when Stormy and I were looking at that, when he came to my office and we were signing off on it, I mean, it's kind of restricted for what they can use. I don't know that's just, they got this money and they can spend it on whatever.
So the CARES Act money that they got was not a reimbursement, it was some calculation of this is how
It's
much.
some sort of a part of the stimulus package.
Okay,
I mean,
so based on
Per
how many
capita.
trucks they had, or per capita, maybe? They got it up front. So if they, just for clear understanding, then we'll move on, I guess. If funds come into you and the, say $74,000 in 1 month, you're gonna distribute $74,000.
Correct.
So
We're
we don't
just
have it
gonna
budgeted out like an even number. Okay, thank you.
And the questions pertaining to the school are in section T of your budget book. They are the last pages that you have.
Which,
P is in Paul.
T,
Oh, T.
as in Tom.
T is in teacher.
Yes, that's a better example, yes. Those are the last pages in your book.
And which did you put in?
Into the budget that I sent you, it was the flat funding for right now.
Which means what they
That's the
requested.
2858000. Flat for this year.
So right now, the budget is short. How much, after Chris's info and stuff?
After all that, 900, and there was a column that did not add in $11,000 for animal shelter. 998,584. So the total that was in the information I sent you the other day had 11,000. So just right under $1 million. But that budget does include cuts. It includes various cuts throughout the department. It does include a furlough going on that presumption for employees, 12 days. In the furlough policy, it explains who that would affect. And it does not include the loan that Kim can discuss as well.
It doesn't include
It does not include the $60,000.
potential savings.
Right,
Is that the same that you worked on last time that we?
I have additional information
Yes.
whenever you guys are. ready.
yes. So she can explain about that. But it does include the revenue adjustment that Chris provided. It also includes, as explained in that memo that I sent the other day when I sent you that budget, the explanation about how the sales tax was recalculated when Kim and I went through and talked with Kim about it. So the sales tax numbers have increased a little bit as well.
But we're $998,584 short.
Right.
Right now, for balanced budget.
Correct.
Now, do we expect anything different on the tax? I know we don't know anything about the sales tax, but do you think spending has increased more during this time of COVID-19? By that, I mean in Gates County particularly.
Oh,
Family-
with the sales tax revenue, is that what we're
Sales
talking?
tax.
I really can't say until we get in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, I think we'll probably get a report early June for probably the first month of, well, I mean, since the COVID, what that spending will look like. I think usually I get that report the first of the month, and then we receive our funds by the 15th.
And I don't know if this was in the conference call you were in, but they said that, it may have been the manager's conference call last week. Very, very preliminary numbers for March show that overall sales were down 10 to 15% as a whole across the state. But she said, now let's keep in mind, she said that does not mean that is what your county will see. Some counties will see larger numbers and some counties will see smaller numbers.
And that was what my email, one of my many emails that I sent. I think that Cal had an article in the Northern Toronto News Herald where the town of Ahoskie was proceeding with the same budget, same revenue expected and cutting spending. But you said that you and Kim did not think that was, but that is a possibility that we as a commissioner could say, instead of 20, 5% reduction, let's just cut 5 and then wait on our Congress, the Congress to say that we're going to send that money that can be used for lost revenue, which would alleviate a whole lot of the $998,584.
My impressions from right now, this is also new, from those conferences with the potential of it taking care of the lost revenue, at this point, it doesn't look very promising. I think they're waiting to see how much they're going to actually spend on the COVID related reimbursements, if I could guess right now.
And then the new act that passed, but hasn't, it's in the other chamber, that was being pushed more by Representative Co-Congressman Butterfield to help out, alleviate counties and municipalities with their loss of revenue. And I just, with the questions that I had emailed about possible spending and PCG, which they're already doing, and even Commissioner Hoffman mentioned the school system at our last meeting about how much money they're saving right now.
Saving some.
Right. We don't know. We haven't got any. Do we get info on fund balance or anything
That's
like
the
that?
information, that's the last 3 pages. They anticipate spending all of their money that the county provided this year, plus I believe it's $56,000 of their fund balance.
You say the last 3 pages of the T.
Yes. There's 3 pages that have questions on them.
Okay.
So they do not anticipate having any county funds left over.
Which is sort of negating
Now,
the question.
If you have questions about that, I would encourage the board to meet with the board so that you could get all of your questions fully answered about that.
Of course, when this number of people retiring, when you replace a 30-year-old teacher with someone who has no experience, it's a savings. Generally speaking.
Right.
I don't know who they'll hire. I don't know all
Even
these.
10 years compared to 5 years. And I don't know how the school system, works with that part, but I know you talked about, we talked about that last time a little bit.
That does make a difference, because generally the new hires are paid out of the county funds, because that's much cheaper than the state funds go to the ones who have more experience, because they will pick up those slots.
Mr. Chairman,
Right.
just like we're trying to meet with the board of elections. I think we should meet with the Board of Education. This is a budget that we've never seen before, as far as I'm concerned, and everything's on the table, so we need to have a discussion about the school system. And just have a discussion, see where they are, and when I go through this, I might have some questions, and I would like to hear from them without being filtered.
Well made. Hey, Mr. Ridley.
Also, this is a lot to take in. It's hard to even ask questions when you have not seen the book.
And this is your first time seeing one of these books tonight. It's a little overwhelming, isn't it?
No, take my books like this, not this book.
Now, could we, in our budget workshop that we should be getting ready to schedule?
No, sir, you don't schedule them in the past until after the budget is passed.
Okay.
That's typically,
Well, this
The way it
ain't
works.
typical times.
but that's what I was gonna say, it's not the same. But I would recommend before you schedule any meetings, amongst ourselves to meet with the Board of Elections, and I will contact her again tomorrow because we must advertise tomorrow for that meeting.
And the
That,
Board of Education.
right, and meet with the Board of Education and if any other boards or departments that you, or outside agencies that you want to meet with.
So that would not be considered a budget workshop.
Well, it's
'Cause
still, it's
Well, my
still.
question was, could we say, we've got $998,000, and I like Commissioner Riddick's, comment. My point was, last year, we made it work, the budget work. This year is unprecedented time. So would it make sense, instead of trying to go over every single thing to, as part of Commissioner Riddick's, if I may, we meet with the school board and superintendent, and then we meet with another department, maybe 3 departments as part of one meeting. Is that legal? We'll have a budget workshop with the Board of Education, the planning board, and finance. Then we have another meeting for these other departments. That way, we're restricting ourselves, so we're not looking over this whole budget at each meeting.
Eating the elephant in small.
Right.
But that's within the parameters.
Right, you can do that. Personally, I think you need to go and look at the book before you decide if you're gonna meet with finance, you're gonna meet with each individual department. Because if, as you had said in another email, if departments have already been making some cuts and they made some 5% cuts to start with, and there are other departments that you want to talk with as that you feel like should make cuts, then I feel like you need to start with those departments because they've not been approached about cuts. Because you need to set the direction or direct me to say, ask them to reduce their budgets by 5%.
Now, who has not been cut?
Well, the Board of Education, anyone who's not under the county purview, so, or under my direction, or one of the boards that, or an offshoot of county government. So Board of Education has not been, their budget's not been changed. The library, forestry, but of course forestry also, now they did have a huge increase in their budget this year. Scott Sheets is supposed to receive a new truck. He has postponed getting a new truck for, I think, at least 2 years now, and the state has told him he has to have a new truck.
Now, last year.
Last year, it went to, Aaron.
When I had my many questions last year, and I was looking through that book of all my post-it notes, I remember something being said about we couldn't touch forestry money.
Right,
So it wouldn't do any good.
right, so it would,
Meet with them.
and they only invoice us for what they actually spent.
Well, and I will say, I don't have a letter or a survey like the chair did earlier, but I had a county employee reach out to me and say, if we're getting cut and people are losing pay, why can't y'all cut the school system?
Right.
And I, of course, I didn't have an answer, but like Commissioner Riddick has said, everything's on the table right now. I think my history will show that I'm not for cutting the school system, and we didn't last year, but these times are calling for drastic measures, and $998,000, how much of the tax increase would that be, Kim? Based off
It'll
$86,000?
be over 10 cents because we only could raise 89,000.
Be like almost 12
It'd
cents.
be,
Yeah.
and I'm not for that big a tax increase, or no tax increase, actually.
And plus, we have a lot of we don't know what our collection rates will be next year with people are not working. And that's going to make it, you think about less money.
Well, and that's what I brought up at the last meeting. Our citizens are living it now. And that's why I keep harping back to the revenue, that if we decrease our anticipated loss and wait for Congress to come through, we're not even looking at a tax increase or reduction in force possible.
Let's talk a little bit about our citizens. Newport News Shipyard,
Is working,
they're working. So, okay. Navy Yard,
working.
they're working. Anybody else?
Middle,
All of our teachers continue to get paid.
We've got a lot more citizens than that.
Why not?
new core,
New Corps, they haven't laid anybody off.
But nurses are getting laid off. a lot of nurses in Gates County.
I do-
Furloughed, excuse me, furloughed.
I do know that DSS has seen an increase in the number of people who have come to file for benefits. I've not asked for the specific numbers, and actually that person told me after hours when I saw the store, that they had been swamped. They had had to stay late to get all the information in by the deadline, because they had so many people filing.
And of course, we know DOT.
Well,
It's starting furloughs.
well, and the furlough that the county manager has potentially proposed or something, this is across the board, everybody the same. Is that right?
Except it does not include, and.
Of course,
it is
those
the
couple
policy.
positions.
It does not include most of the sheriff's office, and it does not include dispatch. Otherwise, it includes all other employees.
But the DOT, they did a structured furlough where the general employees, 20 hours, management,
Mhm.
25 or 30, and then senior management. So, and I don't know and is that something that even would be entertained or that we could look at where average employee, not saying average employee, but employee that's not a director be cut certain days, department head be cut certain days, and management be cut a certain number of furlough hours.
If you look at that, there are at least three departments that are essentially one person. And they're considered a department head. I'm gonna use Lisa as the example. So if you do that, and you tell her she has to take 2 days a month, let's just say, make up a number. So that would be fewer planning questions that are asked.
So what happens now when she's out? They wait 2 days.
They wait.
And
They wait.
I think the same way I've seen it structured, there's limits on when you can take them, or, you know, you can't take 2 back to back or
Well, no,
something.
that's up to
And
each,
that would be part of the policy.
that would be up to the
Which
discretion.
other department would that?
Well, Billy is the only person, and then, of course, Billy's EMS, so, but if Billy gets called out on an emergency, technically on furlough, he's not supposed to go. So there is that. Fatia is Board of Elections. She does have some part-time people, but part-time people are included in this furlough as well. So that would be the Board of Elections. That would be without someone.
But you wouldn't now,
They would be the only,
but that, no, you wouldn't give all three of them the same day off.
no, you don't, no,
So
you
it would be
don't
covered.
do that. You don't do that, but I'm just making the point that some of the departments are small. So I understand what you're saying, but I also would want the citizens to understand that if you call and Lisa's or that department head's out more often, they need to be understanding as to why that department head is not there to help when they call that department.
Your service might not be
Right, so it'd be,
instantaneous.
correct. So that would just be something that everyone would have to communicate to the citizens. There might be a lag in service time if that was the case.
Well, look what's happened.
Mhm,
Look what COVID-19's done to us.
mhm,
That's something that the citizens would need to accept.
mhm.
Unless they want us to raise their taxes, I don't think they want us to do
Right.
that. So it's a pretty good trade-off. You know?
And inconvenience one day.
Yeah.
You know, and 2 days a month, spread out, over 12 months. I agree with you. But I don't want to look at furlough or reduction in force, which is mentioned last week, until I still think that the revenue, the expected revenue, and we not cut anybody's hours.
But we still have to come up with a balanced budget here, not knowing what the rest of the year is going to
And we
be.
have to declare a tax rate.
Right.
We have to declare a tax rate, and we have to tell DMV what our tax rate is, so they can get it on
Process.
the process, and that's got to be by July 20-something.
20th, I believe he said. But if I may, there were some other suggestions from when I quickly read the 54 responses. Other things that came out were if employees' pay is reduced, commissioners' pay should be reduced. Commissioners should not be eligible for benefits. There were a few people that said you can look at it by a respondent, and there were some who said furlough is what they prefer, but then they said you need to fire people. So,
Everybody but that person.
so that was, and I thought that was a little strange. They were confident their job would be one that would not be cut. So there were people who did recommend going to a 4-day work week, working 37.5. There were quite a few who said work 30 hours a week. I'm not sure they actually meant 30 hours a week, because 30 hours a week is a pay reduction. I'm not sure if that's truly what they meant,
I don't.
or if they actually meant work 4 days and work the 37.5 hours within those 4 days. I did reach out, I put a question on listserv. No one could tell me, because I asked what kind of utility savings did you have, no one could tell me anything about any of that. I sent it out on county manager's listserv, and I also saw it posted by someone else on the HR listserv, and no one answered any of those questions.
And speaking of savings, I had asked a question about the PCG. So to clarify your response, if we went along with P and C that we're associated with and went to winter hours, cut back from winter hours, the savings would not go for taxes. It would stay in the landfill
Correct,
fee fund.
correct.
So that would not apply for the money that could be saved, but maybe the $240 a year could go down a couple of dollars or something.
I'm not
If it
gonna
worked
say
out.
it can go down because of the recyclables.
And
And we have a meeting tomorrow, so we'll be able to get more numbers
so what
about
does that
that.
mean, the recyclables?
We have to pay to take recyclables away now. We do not make money,
So we're paying for regular trash and recyclables.
yes,
Now, are we paying the same thing for both? Because,
No,
no,
the hauling fee is different.
the Holland fees are different, don't ask me what they are, I did not have any
The
of
reason
that,
hauling
and
fees are different is because the people hauling will get something for the recyclables, which cuts their cost.
Yeah, it's less to I think it's less to haul the recyclables, but the problem is there used to be a bigger market. The China took a lot of
Right.
stuff, and then they had stopped that because it was contaminated.
right, and we, like I said, we have a meeting tomorrow about the PCG and the Albemarle Regional Solid Waste Management Authority budgets.
but with them, we are not, we're paying, when people put recyclables in, and we're paying when people put trash in, we're paying less, which is part of the $240 a year that citizens pay. I would be curious to know, and I'm one of 5 in here, I'm gonna ask, how many times y'all been to the trash site and been asked to, somebody look, that's in the look and said, oh, that's recyclable, it goes over there. How many times, think about the last time you've been to the trash site, the education part, or the PCG is paying them, we're giving the money, but they're not making citizens put recyclables where they need to put recyclables.
I'm not gonna agree with that because I've been there and it's been both ways. I think it depends on who, and whenever I've encountered that, I come back and let Angel know.
But it should depend on who.
Right.
That should be a job description.
Right.
We're paying a crap ton of money to them, and I think that needs to come up in whoever's in that meeting tomorrow night, the education of employees.
And I think part of the problem, these people there are some that are very conscientious and like the recycling and doing all that. But, most of these are older people. And some people can be, when you tell them you can't do that, they can become very aggressive.
Like the citizens coming in there.
Yeah, they say, Jack, you need to put that over there, and then you say, no, I'm not, blah, blah, blah,
But that's their own fault because they have not been doing what they should have been doing for years. I mean, I would think, in my opinion, but that's for another day.
Yeah, we don't have management on site.
See, there's nobody,
But we're paying a lot of money for them to do
But it costs us a lot of money to
Yeah,
get the
it's a lot of
trash.
trash.
Oh, yeah. It costs the citizens,
A lot of trash.
It's a lot of trash.
and it's gone up recently, a whole lot. Thanks to
No,
COVID.
yeah, the tonnage has gone way up. It's
That's
been-
why I sent everyone that document that I just received from her, so you would see how much trash
So,
has been generated over the past month by the citizens of the county.
and the different sites.
Right.
What do, sorry, Mr. Chair, I didn't mean
I know
to.
you. You can
Just throw some at me, it's okay. What do the P and the C pay a
It-
year?
I don't know what they pay. I mean, they
Because wouldn't we all
set
pay
their
the
own rate.
same?
No, you set your own rates.
And I think right now, and I don't know how many invoices it went over, but there was a time where I think we paid too much and another county didn't pay enough, and so then that was reduced out of our invoice once they
And
figured that out.
we're being billed for the tonnage and then our part of the personnel.
Yes.
Well, I think we have a lot to discuss individually in this book. But I've heard the options by the county manager, and I've heard a lot of discussion, but these are unusual times. Everything's on the table. But some people you need to talk with, like the election board and the school board, and maybe a couple of others that we may want to have a discussion instead of, but to supplement going through this book. And I've taken notes, and county managers have said some options. I've heard new options, and the personnel issue as far as employment should have a sheet to itself with these scenarios of what would be saved by doing whatever. I've heard furloughs, I've heard 4.5 days, I've heard 4 days, this, that, and the other. But whatever we do, we have to be transparent in doing it because we need buy-in or support from the majority. You're never gonna get everybody from the majority of the citizens. And I would just put on record right now that tax increases, my left is gonna be the last thing on my list. Because when you do tax increase, that hurts everybody.
That's right.
And I heard Commissioner Owens talking about who's working, but you look at the demographics, there are more people not working that's gonna get tax increase. And they don't have anything to do with Newport or the workforce. And I'm glad they're still working, but this is not gonna end anytime soon, I don't think. But our senior citizens, or those disabled, those populations that live in this small county, less than 12,000 people, gotta be mindful of how we affect them as well.
And we got to continue to provide services to
They have to provide services for them. And they're gonna have to understand, if we cut services, we're gonna do the best we can. Not cut it to the bones, but, you can't, you can do anything you want, you shouldn't do certain things. And when you decrease services, they have to understand why. Be doing this because of this, and this is what the trade-off is. Like Commissioner Owens said, we gotta trade off something. So we can't keep going back and forth, trying to protect everything and everybody. We've got to make some decisions, and that's what we need to do. We need to talk to people, and they need to understand we want them to talk to us. I'm glad for the survey, now we can see what they were saying, because now they know that we're at least gonna read it and understand it, and that may help us to get to some conclusions as a board.
And I know a lot of our county employees are also taxpayers here as
They
well.
are.
Yeah.
They are,
So they're gonna double it,
Yeah.
potentially.
they are.
And before I ask Kim about the loan options, the Board of Education meets on the 8th. Now, they are meeting electronically, so I don't know if they're meeting like we are and then broadcasting like we are, or if they're actually doing all electronic at home by Zoom and casting it electronically. But could you provide me with a few dates that you would like to meet with them?
So it
They
should be,
meet on the 8th.
So it should be
Is that
after.
on Monday?
so it should be after the 8th.
Well,
After that,
that's up to you. I just looked so that we could potentially avoid that day because I don't know how long their meeting lasts. They're actually meeting at 9 and then for closed session and 10 for open.
My favorite date is 6:30.
So if you'll just provide me with a few dates.
Yeah, I would say if they're meeting on the 8th too, it should be sometime after that, because give them a chance to look at all their figures and talk about some of the things if they watch us how we were talking about. How we were.
Well, then you're looking at the next week, the 8th is on a Friday. Oh, no.
No, you're looking at June.
So June.
And on the 17th, you have a commissioners meeting.
They could probably meet twice in 1 week, couldn't
So we want to do it
8th and
the
the
8th, that night? Or
Probably be better if we didn't meet the same day they met.
I'm thinking the
They might be
10th.
tired.
What-
10th
10th
or
would be a
11th
Thursday.
work. Wednesday or Thursday at 6:30 work for me.
Let me see.
Either one.
I think I have a date here. I know I can't.
Made some appointments today, but I didn't run put them in here.
What was the date?
The 10th and the 11th, which is a Wednesday or Thursday.
And we're looking, I'm looking at my calendar, so,
I'm fine.
we are not, we're just trying to set up one meeting right now. Is that, we're not setting up any other meetings? And because we can't set up a workshop because we don't have a balanced budget.
Well, you can have that, but I mean, my recommendation is you need to talk to the Board of Education and see what they say, because if they're adamant they're gonna need more than what you gave them, then that also puts another spin on how you approach everyone else.
But we could have a budget workshop after we meet with the big numbers,
Mhm.
before we got to all the.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it would be important to go ahead and schedule a couple meetings for us in the month of June.
And with the Board of Education, we are required to give them a certain amount of money, correct?
Yes,
And what's that amount?
that depends on
per-
year to year.
And did
I will
I,
say, I realized I did not print that, so I will send that to you.
Based on
And did I
student
not-
population?
Yes,
and did I not read last year, maybe we overpaid them
Well,
by 5% or
it
something?
depends again on which you look at. That's what I had been told, but based upon what Kim and I have received, that is not true.
I would think we'd get a different figure from them than we would from someone else.
We need the truth, don't we?
Yeah, the truth is the same.
When I clicked into that, I realized I didn't print that and give it to Melissa to your budget book, so I'll send you the stuff from Karen Malonzi. That gives you that formula about how much the school should.
Because I saw one of the surrounding counties had to contribute more.
Yeah.
They had underpaid. I
But we're
forgot which
gonna-
one. It was one of the, in the northeast. It was several, I can't remember.
So as of right now, what we're
The
looking at
10th
is,
and the, or the 11th, did you figure out which date? You said you thought you had a
Yeah,
meeting tonight.
I definitely have a meeting, that I can't make, and that's gonna be on my calendar and desk.
Well, The
But we don't
10th
need
would
to-
be better for me if that works out, but I can do either one.
What day was that?
That's a
sorry?
Wednesday, the
Yeah,
10th.
the 10th is better for me, but I can do either one easily. I cancel everything for them. Any other meeting I have, I just cancel it to meet this.
I
Yeah,
think,
it's fine with me.
and I think it tends to be probably good.
You think that's, okay.
I think mine are
And Russell
single
will be
digits.
okay with me. I'll make it work.
We'll check with you tomorrow. You gonna be at work tomorrow? Okay.
so we don't want to go ahead
You
and
mean you
schedule,
actually worked through, right?
we don't want to schedule any
Not
other
through
meetings, so
COVID-19.
we're all on the same page, and we got $1 million to come up with.
6:30, my date.
You got dinner next time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that
I
June?
personally think it'd be wise to go and put a couple of dates on the calendar.
6:30, is that June 30th, sir, or is that time?
I'm sorry, that's all right.
Okay, so the first preference is the 10th at 6:30, second preference is the 11th at 6:30. And we can get it with them to see what works best and how we need to conduct that meeting as well. Kim, do you want to, unless
You
you
want
need
us to go over this the loan real quick, because I did talk with, the debt management division of LBC. Was this week?
it was
My days are blurring together.
Tuesday, I believe, yes, it was Tuesday morning.
You handed it to us one earlier, right?
Yes, it looks like this.
And once again, I apologize on this one sheet that the font's very small. I can send you my Excel spreadsheet if you need it to be a little larger. What, I went back and did This is basically the same, a part of the same information I gave you the last time, except this has more details with looking at it from year to year. The option one, what we discussed at the last meeting, and this is if we refinance for 10 years with the thought that we would pay it off early.
You need to tell us any LGC stuff before you.
When I talked with, there were two gentlemen that we did a conference call. Natalie was in there with me. This is not something that, from what I gathered, this is not something that LGC typically approves to extend your loan out. However, he felt like if we had a strategy in place and this was COVID related, and this was something that we were trying to do because of the current situation, you might have a little more leeway in them looking at this as a modification. So I'll start it with that. We could not get on their agenda any earlier than July for this. So, like I said, that's kind of, I sent him the numbers. They were going to look at it a little more before, they could definitively.
First Tuesday in July, I think.
I think that sounds about right. So this is the same information that I sent them that I've given to you guys. The option one, that's what we talked about the last time. And this is when I said we would cost the county in the long run, if we paid it off in 5 years, $33,000. We would, when I use the word save, we're not saving money, we're only saving in we're paying less principal than we currently are. But if we paid it off in 3 years, from what Jonathan had suggested, or when I had sent the email this week, that's kind of your break-even point, and where you wouldn't cost the county money to do it this way. And on the budget side, you would be able to free up $59,000 this year. So I'm using the word free up, not save. We're not saving.
But we would, if we follow the plan that I suggested, we'll save money this year and.
We'll free it up on the budget, in the budget, yeah. Because it's just delaying your payment. So what I
But
did.
we have to be disciplined enough to do it in 3 payments.
Right, so what I
3
did,
years.
what I did on this spreadsheet that, once again, I apologize, the font was so small, is I've given you a breakdown of what the next 6 fiscal years would look like. The top section is if you paid the DSS loan off in 3 payments. Now, I only had it as that last year we would transfer to the debt service fund in 1 payment, but we could do it in 3. I mean, that you can play with these numbers. You don't have to do it all in 1 fiscal year. But the positive, if we could do this, is that the high school gym loan would be paid off the fiscal year prior, and that would free up $440,000 to go towards the remaining principal, the $519,000 that you would have in remaining principal that last year if you paid it off in 3 years. So I just kind of wanted to give you, all right, this is what it would, this is how much you'd have to budget those years moving forward. And then the second part is if we did nothing other than refinance the high school at the lower interest rate, the 2.1, and we kept the DSS at the current payment level. So just some more numbers to mull over.
And they did not indicate when they would get back with us.
So what do we
They
have
had
to do to get on the July calendar? You
They,
said-
they have to get back with us first and let us know if what they call the financial,
There's an application.
right, what their
So-
thoughts were too.
No,
Well, he kind of went back and
Mhm.
forth on, at first it was, you would need to fill out an application, but I think the more that they kind of mulled over it, they considered this as a modification to the current, to what we currently have on file. So then he wanted me to send him all the information that I had given you guys for them to look at the numbers as well.
now, could we, well, first off, is there, I don't see a tab for expenditures. I see revenue at A. But am I blind and just missing,
Expenditures is every tab.
but there's not a breakdown, side by side or anything,
That's what you were, that's what you were, I emailed you.
You gave it to us.
Right.
this right here, is that what this is? This, because you said there was something in the line that was missing or something earlier.
Right.
So the email that's on the table tonight is what
That's.
matches
it.
this, is line for line.
No, it doesn't match that. What you have on that table is the 20%, I mean, it's the new budget that was calculated with the new sales tax revenue. Kim and I went back over and reviewed and the numbers that, Chris provided.
The 998, 584
Right.
is what it is. So these numbers aren't gonna match
No,
this stuff.
Now, if I remember correctly, to meet with the LGC, I think it's the first Tuesday of the month, and it's the only day of the month that they meet for things like what we're talking about. And there's competition. I mean, they probably start at 9 o'clock in the morning. End of the day, they're through for the month for things like what we're talking about. So there's competition out there, people buying. for those
Sometimes you
slots.
don't get on the agenda.
Sometimes you don't get on the agenda.
You might have be in August, but
So, and we cannot, can we balance the budget with us expecting them to approve this?
You can, only if you have a backup plan if they don't.
So we can be proactive and forward thinking and say, hey, we think they're gonna pass it because we're struggling with this debt. Makes a lot of sense. And that's good to know.
Well, if you look at this, in 2023, we're retiring 2 debts that year.
Correct, if you can set it up so that you are
So it's
either
not like we're
transferring
trying
money
to
along.
push something down the road 7 or 10 years.
So we're, if we follow the plan that I brought up, we're paying off 2 debts, retiring them in 3 years instead of
Right,
So
saving money now and saving money in the long run.
so if we went ahead and refinance the high school loan at the lower rate, we don't have to go through LGC approval for that one. I mean, we can have a small amount of savings, but we can still, do that. It's just for the DSS because we're trying to extend the loan, but
modified.
yeah, modify it.
How do you feel about it?
Like I said, if we feel pretty confident that, I think we would have to set up a debt service fund. And if we feel like we can either split it up over three payments or 2 payments. But I think I felt better after I reran these numbers with looking at it at 3 years instead of 5, because I knew we would be costing the taxpayers money doing it this way. We were not saving anything except on paper on the budget side. But doing it this way, like I said, we would be paying off that high school loan the year before, so that frees up 440-some thousand we would have had to budget for the high school if we had to pay it again the next year, so.
And keep in mind the comments that were made, including mine, about Butterfield earlier, is, that could come to the county in the form of a loan
Right,
with a 12-month, 18-month forgiveness for the first payment or whatever, or it could come as a grant. It wouldn't be called a grant, it would be called stimulus. So we don't know if that comes, we don't know which method it'll come, but if it,
And that could be used to retire, what's that? Right?
it'll have stipulations on it. It's going to be for operational stuff. It's not going to be for capital improvement. It probably won't be for any debt reduction or anything like that. It'll probably just be for lights and things like that.
Now,
But that'd be a blessing.
and it fixes the problem. The capital outlay that I had a question, is that something that can be lowered?
which capital outlay, you talking about what's in this book?
I see capital outlay as letter X. And I see something from building ground.
That
capital
is
outlay.
what capital
But
outlay
that's
is.
the only thing, capital outlay,
Yes.
these 3 names.
Yeah.
But there was other funds that I placed in the email, $1.6 million or something. my first budget email, I think, capital outlay for school fund or something.
That's as Kim did a good job of explaining, those are totally different funds and different pots of money. Capital outlay, this is what the county capital outlay, the school gets money for capital outlay, which they requested 1.6 million. Every year we give them 200,000, and that is what has been recommended in the budget.
So they requested 1.6.
They always do.
They always
Which was in
do.
one of those things, but, if that was something that we wanted to cut potentially? Is that something that can be cut?
You can cut it, but once again, 200,000, when you see their list.
And
it's
you
not
don't
a
know
lot
when
of money.
the HVAC or the heating system's going out in some of the places, or they have a lot of patchwork things done to keep the systems running, but one of these days it's not going to run.
But remember what Sharon Edmondson said.
You also have their fund balance in there.
So good.
Say that again.
Remember what Sharon Edmondson said last year,
And that is?
that their fund balance is better than ours.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The doors
And
here,
that's why.
That is not something that I'm recommending.
the
What's that,
doors.
Jack?
Yes.
And where are these doors at?
There was a discussion about safety, if people are in their office and have the door shut, or the windows and the doors. And the majority of offices, the answer is no. But at $50,000 estimation that we were provided, because you would have to replace the doors, because some of the doors are old and they're real thin, so they can't put a glass in them. Some of them are metal. Some of them are brand new doors that are metal doors. And they said, the people who provide the quote to Crystal said it would be easier and less expensive to just replace the door than to put in a door. But once this came about,
That's,
$50,000 is something that I feel like is a lot to spend on doors throughout the county.
Does this have the Fund 21 stuff in there we talked about
No,
last week?
because that's an ordinance and that's not money that's allocated each year.
But we
it's a
talked about it at the last
continuation.
meeting though, about you bringing that information to
Right,
us.
we've got the information, but it's not in the book because it's not something you vote on every year. That money's a continuation pull forward.
But,
Because
right,
it's a perpetual, that's the word I'm looking for.
but I think that someone made the recommendation, I don't know if it was the chair or about, let's see what, is in that money, I don't remember, Chair, if you might remember, sir. Let's see what's in it, let's see what's left, I think you talked about windows or something.
Right,
Uh,
you pulled that up. I can tell you that, after talking to Crystal today, she had received the quote. There was a quote for break room cabinets, repair some of the bathroom walls where there was moisture that had come up and created bubbles on there and in the hallways. Because one of the bathrooms now is considered a public bathroom on the third floor, which was the judge's chamber. Some doors have to be moved now, because for those who've been in the courtroom, you know, when you come from the courtroom and you step up into what was the judge's chambers, that first office that's on the left, you walk through a door, there's a bathroom to the left, and then there's the door to the office. Once the building was completed, the building inspector said that bathroom has to be a public bathroom. So the metal door that had been installed prior to me coming on board has to be removed so that that bathroom could be a public bathroom. And the door that is to that office will have to be put up because there is not a door to that office. So the doors have to be replaced in order for someone to ever use that office and public to use that bathroom. Put some shelves up and some vaults that we're going to use as closets, and put up some counter space in the copy room. And then at the back door, we just put some Quikrete. We have rocks to fix that drainage issue that's right there. The estimate between all of that is about $11,000.
I had a county employee ask me, and of course, I didn't know the answer to this county employee's question, but His statement, more so a question, was how many citizens are going to take advantage of or go in the historic courthouse? Why do we keep throwing more money in there? And I couldn't answer his question of, how many citizens are going to the county manager's office or the finance office. And of course, the citizen wasn't happy. And as an employee, he wasn't happy as well, but didn't like extra money being thrown across the street. He didn't think that, it wouldn't be utilized. So that's why I go back to Fund 21. We talked about it in the last meeting. If there's stuff as simple as a cabinet, we're talking about furloughing county employees a day. It doesn't make any sense to me why we're talking about building cabinets for $11,000 and doing whatever and giving employees a day of unpaid payoff. I can't fathom that.
How much money was left in that account?
There's, almost 35,000 left right now. There's like 2,000 encumbered.
It's an appropriated money for
Right, for the historic courthouse. Right.
last year's budget.
It could be changed by.
And I remember,
We
But
talked
we
about it
have to
last
start,
week.
it does, the offices are, they do have offices tonight that are much more usable and go back, and to have all that stuff together and not have to be on top of each other like they were crammed in. It is also, will be used for, courtroom is available to be used for different things. And, I think with this here closing, we need to make sure that the public bathroom and whatever is done. And, with this close,
But you think we should be building cabinets, we're talking about laying off potential
well, I don't think the
furloughed
cabinets
employees?
are going to cost that much.
That, like I said, that was a quote. That does not mean that's how much it's going to cost.
But
When you
you
buy them
go
from Lowe's.
up to a county employee tomorrow, who may be watching this video, and I would love to know, the optics of that to me does not look good. The optics to me of spending another dime on anything in the county right now doesn't look good to me. That's just me personally. I'm going to vote out of 5 votes.
and to kind of add in there, because we have a couple of commissioners that weren't here, and not to pick on you, Dr. Riddick, but Commissioner Owens had brought up at our last budget session for the 2020 budget, and we had a lot of discussion. I think Commissioner Owens was talking about one way to start off is to limit spending. Remember saying that, sir?
Mm-hmm. And I'm for the limited spending. Sometimes you got to finish something too.
I mean,
And I have been asked about the handrail out front. The Historical Society is putting that back up. We are not going to pay for that, so when it gets back up, that was not handled.
Did you send an email out on that too?
I may have mentioned it at one time.
I seemed like I read something on that.
Well, now we are occupying 2 buildings, correct? Still got, I saw the layout for who's backfilling the space, that stuff. So now we have 2 buildings for utilities and all of that. So I'm hoping that when I look at this book, I hope I see something in there, what the guesstimate is, or what it's gonna cost recurring, because now we have offices in the historic courthouse has to be heated and cooled, maintained, and all of that. So that has to be in there. And I know that's gonna come up sooner or later from some of the citizens. Now we got 2 faces instead of 1. And I'm just putting it out there.
And we've actually been heating and cooling the building when no one was in there.
Well, now you're in there.
Right. So there will be some change, but just so you know that it had been heated and cooled before we moved in.
And the other way that Commissioner Owens brought up, and I think Mr. Jones echoed that, was limited hiring. There was a hiring freeze. I remember that. Yeah,
We implemented that last week.
but I mean, we were talking about that over a year ago or so, right?
And I do see in the education that they want you, ROTC coordinator.
Yes, they had requested
That's a
that
new-
last, they
Under
requested
last year,
that last year as well.
there was some grant money that's out there for that. If I remember correctly. Where are we right now on the budget? Finance officer,
Well,
director?
actually,
Just
I
like
was
the-
looking through some of these numbers and, I have two suggestions we might be able to do. We still,
We like suggestions.
Something
we
for us to ponder.
still have not, this past year, we balanced the budget using Fund 41, the wastewater project. There's still a little bit left in there.
However, I mean, if I can, we cannot close that out. I still have not heard from EDA. A letter will be sent this week, certified mail to EDA because he does not respond to anything except for mail.
So there might be a little bit from what we had planned on moving when it's closed out. I'm just throwing out.
When you say a little bit.
How about the grant?
9,000?
No,
Do we have a separate line item, and I'm kind of trying to remember, for the grants that came forward for housing improvements?
Are we talking about I always think of everything as fund numbers.
Yes,
Fund
yes.
28.
28, and then the one, and then the one we've not set up because we've not got the
Let's see.
paperwork to finish the month.
Right, and that's kind of an in and out.
Pass through.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
That was 2 years ago, Ray, it still hadn't been,
Right,
Is that 2018?
yes.
that was a couple
Yes,
years
the
ago. It's still up
CDBG,
there, people still ain't got a house yet.
How, does that money already come forward?
No.
Have you seen? Well, how do you see that?
That's money,
Once,
it's like pay and requisition
Right.
on it at the same time, so
Right.
it just,
Yeah.
it's in and out.
This is pass through. We
So
don't.
there's just hearing the chairman say 2018 and those people haven't got their houses yet, that's no delay on our part.
no. Part of it is that the paperwork based on close out some other grants and then some paperwork from the state was completed in 19. Pitt has finished his work and now we're waiting on the consultant and they had been behind because one of them had been out due to illness. So that put them behind, but I know that.
They should have a contingency plan.
Right, well, they are a very small office, but there's other issues so that I'm not gonna get into now since it's budget meeting. On the agenda is where we are, but there's other issues that I think delaying that as well.
Can you get us an update on it, email or something, just let us know.
That started before my time, I think. But
Yeah.
And you want to get
But
us.
I got a second.
Yeah, so she's got a second.
I'm not sure if I saw this when I was looking at the revenue numbers. Did we plan to pull any out of the Fund 29 to help pay for the interest on the debt? So that might be a little.
29.
Fund 29 is the school capital reserve fund.
That was one.
That was the one I went through
That was
the
the
whole
one,
email.
that long email that I didn't
I'm
understand.
sorry.
Put it in layman's terms, well, Jack, please, as he likes to say.
Well, Article 44, that's a part of some of the sales tax we get that comes into our general fund. And at the beginning of each budget year, we budget how much we think we're going to receive for that Article 44. And we also, in our expenditure side, have a line that's equal to it that says transfer out. We're transferring that amount out to the school capital reserve fund, like the savings account.
Last year, Article 44 ran into 50,000.
Well,
month, right?
this year we had budgeted 620,000 that we were going to collect that goes directly into this fund because it's restricted. But we are using it to pay for part of the school project.
So where does that extra money go?
It's all sitting in that savings account that has to be used towards school.
Because it was collected for the school.
Or like, so is that part of the new school loan?
Yes,
It's restricted to that.
yes, it's
So
for
if
school
we-
capital.
So what, I think we're talking about two different things. What I'm talking about is the money that we're collecting from the sales tax.
And
Now,
are
this
we
is not the
taking a percentage?
8.2, this is not the $8.2 million loan that was started with the project.
Right.
That's a different set of money.
Right, but
That's a different fund.
but that money, the previous board agreed that money was to be used to pay back that
Right.
$8.2 million.
So,
So
So it's
whatever
not
we have,
extra money.
whatever we have left when I receive the rest of the final bills from the school to pay for the construction, whatever we had left from that loan in the needs-based, like we spent all the 2.5 needs-based money that we
So
were
that's
receiving
closed
in
out.
lieu of
Yes.
the lottery funds. whatever we have left over, that money will go towards paying off the loan for
So
the
high school-
8.2
the high school- So not the high school gym.
not the high school gym, Central
The
Middle School
central
project.
middle.
Will it'll go toward the current payment? The first,
It'll go towards a piece of something. I mean, I don't believe there's gonna be a lot.
Absolutely, right, and I sent her one of the documents the other day that talks about if there's money, and it's in the contract that we signed for the loan, that if there's money left, how we can use that to make a payment on the school
So we
loan.
basically make extra principal only payment.
Well,
Possibly.
for example, when we received the $8.2 million from the loan, we put it in with the capital management trust. So we're earning interest.
And is that the Sterling loan
This-
repayment?
yeah.
That was in, okay.
So we are, as we've earned interest, we have 2 interest revenue lines. So this year, we moved some of the interest we've earned to go towards paying for that loan.
And nothing is earning interest right now.
Well, this is probably earning more than the checking account. So,
But so why don't we put all of it toward it, like toward the payment? Like reinvest all the interest earned back into principal only payment to try to lower the principal amount.
You can't do that right
I
now.
know,
That
because
was the one that's locked for 10 years. You
There
can't do
was
that.
no, you couldn't make additional
Prepay.
payments.
You can't make, and you can't utilize that toward the high school gym either.
No,
mm-mm.
And that is because of,
This was specifically for this
well, one
reason.
reason is because the interest rate is so low.
and the LGC approved all of this money for the middle school.
so we can't pay that loan off, we have to hold it for 10 years.
Yeah, you have to
No.
understand, this was before I was hired.
No.
So you're asking-
I got you.
We didn't finance it for 10, we financed it for 20.
20. So
But we
we,
can pay it off after
After
10
10 years, we can,
Right.
Advance it.
we can
You
make,
can
Jack
refinance it,
Dawes,
you can
yeah.
make other payments, you can do other things.
but we could not make additional payments in the
Right.
first 10 years on principal.
Yes. No, it was the best one that we received
Hold it for 10.
because
because they're getting interest for 10 years on the guaranteed rate out, they don't want a prepayment. That's why.
we had financial advisors that
And
became
everybody-
hired for that.
Everyone we checked with, there was, most of them had penalty, I mean, you couldn't prepay,
Right.
I mean, additional payments.
And we had a consultant,
Yes.
Davenport, to
Yeah,
advise us
Davenport
that
did,
and to
Good
walk us
analysis.
through the
Yes.
getting one.
Now, what about the reimbursements from water fund percentages? You said you were gonna check on those?
Okay, I have talked with, I asked Sandy if she remembered when she was here. I also have sent an email to John Schultz, who's with Maximus, who does the report. It's the indirect report, the cost allocation plan that we have to have in by April 15th for DSS for part of those. I don't know if you guys are familiar from sitting on the board. The way they run those numbers is based off transactions that the admin and finance department does. So I can't really use necessarily their plan for all the different departments. He said, he could, if for a fee, they could run some different numbers. So, and Sandy wasn't real sure either.
So who mandates that 75? I remember commissioners was 2.5 and customer service was 75. And my concern was, why are they 100%?
Right, so I'm kind of working on the cuff of looking at I'm kind of trying to follow what Maximus does, but they're looking at total transactions and trying to looking at some percentages to see if it's even close to what we already have it at. So I'm working at that, but unfortunately in this system, even to get the total transactions, you have to manually run and count. There's not, we've contacted Evans and there's not a report that they can.
So what kind of process would it take for that to be changed to say the water department is 95% of their time? I mean, customer service, excuse me.
I guess at this point, really just letting me calculate the numbers and having something that is, with the
So-
data, the
so-
support, I'm sorry,
Oh,
with the
you're okay.
supporting data, to do that. The other part, even with looking, let's say you did use the indirect plan that they provided for us. That's for fiscal year 18, the one that, we just turned in for April of this year, because of how they calculated so many fiscal years back. So that doesn't even take into account that tax has been collecting it for this year. So you kind of have to do something internally
So
anyway.
if we wanted to say, let's run the reimbursements at
89.
or 95%, that comes out of enterprise fund instead of general fund.
Right, the
And that would-
general
and
fund
that would
pays
help.
for it and then they reimburse.
And that would help $998,000, the potential savings.
And you also have to remember though, that if the auditors come back and question and say that's an unrealistic number, it would have to be checked.
I started to say, you have to base it on, because customer service collects money for the different
Right.
departments.
I ran
of the
those
government.
Right.
numbers today and it's
Right,
not that much for other departments.
right,
Okay.
Because they don't, because you pay tax now. If I go pay a bill, I pay tax department.
right. But if you pay extension or after school care, then that money goes to customer service.
They deposit it at the,
They
it's a
deposit.
way to
Mhm.
keep,
So all they're doing is
separate,
depositing the money,
right,
walking the Southern.
Well, it's a
well,
little more than that.
they enter it in the system using a payment code. And then, they deposit it. It's to keep it clean so that it's not,
Yeah, you got to do
Let's
it.
keep it
we're not
fine.
reconciling and depositing money all in the same month.
Well, keep in mind, they
Sounds like
also,
flag theory.
it's not just the monetary transaction, they deal with the issues too,
Yes.
Yes,
which,
also-
which we know is a big,
You talking about, who you talking about now?
the customer service.
Deals with issues,
When,
not with,
when
not
they're
with tax
dealing,
department
when they're
or,
dealing with that water bill, they're dealing with the issues that come up with that water bill too.
and that's why that 75%, I think it's too low.
well, the transactions that I was looking at today, and I talked with Diane about it, we were looking at, they do all the manual entries for all the meter readings into the system for all the accounts every month. They're doing all the collection entries for the money that they collect for the accounts, plus the few things that come in for other departments. And also if there are any other kind of adjustments. When I say adjustments, I mean like somebody has a leak and they have to go in and do
But
something.
they're just collecting it. Shelley or somebody will haul down with the money
Well,
and one of the customer service.
no,
inputs or
taxes,
something?
tax is the only, it's tax collects their money and deposits their money. Customer service collects all the other departments plus the water.
So that'd be planning,
But
like,
yes.
like
right.
inspections money,
Yeah.
not tax, inspections money.
Yes,
I got it.
Yes.
I don't have the breakdown from the last meeting, some other books, so.
and that way it keeps it out of the finance office because we're not technically supposed to be handling the money and reconciling.
You think that's a good alternative, a good way to potentially save taxpayers some money this year?
I think, I don't know how
Well,
much.
but it's a
But
potential,
I think it's 92, so.
I was thinking 94 and a half.
I think we got to make sure that we do a realistic
I agree.
number, and because we don't want to get the problems already in LGC.
Well, I think if you can show your backup of how, like, I can run the report and say,
Mhm.
and count the transactions with this is for this department, this department, you can't dispute.
Because there's a way to do indirect, and that's what we're talking about. I know that Alcohol Commission have a lot of indirect funding.
That's something that I think would be a worthwhile.
Yeah.
Not everything you do is worthwhile.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion I'd like to make.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight,
Mr. Owens, I know you thought about that.
a couple minutes
I
ago.
appreciate it. Sounds like there's a motion.
You do have, so are you tabling the furlough policy, and I have citizen comments,
Oh, you might have.
The furlough.
Yeah. and I have citizen comments.
And I know there was some discussion about the furlough policy. One thing I'd like to kick out about that, if we
Okay.
think about adopting the furlough policy,
Okay.
my feeling is that those that are at the lower end should not be furloughed until last.
If, I didn't hear what you said, but she said if you could have a 1-minute recess, she has received a lot more comments that she got to put into an email to send to me because of how they come through. on
So we
there.
are gonna take public comments?
That's up to you. I have 3, 4 right here, and she
Okay.
said she had several more.
No, I
And it's
mean,
on the agenda.
I think we should, yes, absolutely. take it.
Our standard is to hear the public
Right.
comments.
So we'll stand at recess, not 1 minute, but
Until I get that
5,
email.
3 of them, 5 or
But
10
you can
minutes.
go ahead and read the whole.
Well,
5 or 10 minutes, yeah.
Or what do we do about the furlough policy?
Well, I think
that's up
take
to
that
you.
after.
Are you, that's what we were talking about before.
Are we muted?
No, here's,
Are we in recess?
I think I asked for a 10-minute recess.
Do we have
All right, welcome. We are back after our recess. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I was discussing basically F in our new business, and that is the furlough policy. And I was just mentioning my own opinion is that as we think about that, I think we should take into consideration if or when, or if it does happen, furlough, then I believe that the ones that should be furloughed last should be the employees that are on the bottom, if you will, of the list. In other words, if you take the top management, they would be first furloughed, and then we go down.
And I'm sure we'll address that later,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
probably,
that's my thought.
sure, and I'm sure the state or federal government probably has a formula.
No.
They don't have a formula for that?
What I read about DOT is that DOT was furloughing at management level and not, in other words, if, for instance, there was a manager of DOT, I'm just using this as an example, they would have a 30-day furlough. You go down to the person that's working on the highway, on the side, on the shoulder of the road, he would have 14 days furlough. Hours, not days.
Yeah, there were hours.
Hours, okay. So,
Lot to learn about furloughs.
I think, yeah, that we need to kind of get as much information about furloughs and
and we have,
come back and discuss it.
yeah, and we brought that up. I was saying, that's just my opinion, so we'll be thinking about furlough.
Well, let me ask one question. It sounds like y'all have seen some material on it. If a person's going to be furloughed, are they told that they're going to be furloughed in 10 days or in 15 days?
There is no rule about that. The policy that's before you basically says the reason there's a furlough and that you have the authority to do it. It does not talk about who's being furloughed. It does not talk about a tiered system. It's basically just giving out, this is the general policy for furlough.
Okay, so we're going to design ours.
Right, so and like I said, this is the one that was based on Rowan County's. It does not say everyone's being furloughed, it does at the top. It tells you who it applies to, but it does not tell you how it is applied to them.
Okay.
So it says the county commissioners have the authority to declare a partial and or full furlough for some or all employees. So that right there to me leaves it pretty wide open. And how it will be implemented will be determined on a case-by-case basis, depending upon circumstances that necessitate the furlough. Some examples include, but are not limited to, employees are partially furloughed and required to take unpaid days, work only partial days, work reduced hours, etc. Employees are fully furloughed and do not work at all for a temporary period of time. However, they remain employees of the county. So that would be, you take all 5 days at one time, sort of thing. I know that Wayne County, when I spoke with Craig Honeycutt on email, he said they were looking at doing furloughs. County he had been in previously. He said when they did it, it affected all employees the same. I think is what his email said, but I know it affected all employees. And you could take it, half a day here, half a day there. You could take it the full day. He said that was up to the employee. They did not dictate how it was taken.
So they just told them on so many days and they could take it one day a week or all of 1 week or
Right,
a half day.
right.
And I believe that some of this comes right under the authority that we are given to declare the county and the state of emergency.
Now, I don't
But
know
if you
about
read
that
that,
part.
yeah, if you read that, when we declare the county and the state of emergency, there's certain things the commissioners can do with the county employees.
So are you saying that tonight that are you asking us to go along and saying that's something we're going to do or have the potential to do?
I'm just letting you know that's the policy I'm recommending because the discussion I heard was my takeaway from your discussion was that you thought the policy said, this is who's gonna be affected, and this is how many hours it's gonna be, and this is how it's gonna be done.
Okay,
And-
you're just asking.
Right, but this policy is just a very general policy. It doesn't give the specifics. It says,
And I
you
think,
make that decision. So then later, another meeting, you can come back and make that decision. Okay, these people who make between this amount and this amount get this many days, this amount, this many days, that sort of thing.
and I'll retract what I said, that I'm fine with studying the furlough and, going along with that. I was thought we had to get to the weeds of it. And I
No,
didn't
not
think that was
tonight,
tonight.
no.
And what the county manager is saying, and what we do know is, this all came from discussion on our last meeting, and Dr. Reddick brought to our attention flexible, and then that led us into.
And that's how furlough is flexible and more equitable.
Ms.
So I don't think she's asking us to get into the weeds tonight and design it. I think she's recommending a furlough policy be
Rather than reduction.
considered. The
Rather than
specifics
reduction.
are not there. We can
Right.
work on it, commissions can design it with input, but what we need is the policy, the broad
Right,
based policy itself. We don't have that.
That we're establishing furlough versus reduction in force.
right. And if you establish this policy tonight, then people, if they watch the video tonight, or they're listening, or they watch it tomorrow, and we can go ahead and say, this has been a policy that's been implemented. No decisions have been made on how it's being implemented. That's why, we encourage you to provide feedback.
And also make it clear that that's one of the last things that we are looking at as far as balancing the budget and getting us through this
Thank
trying
you.
time. It's not the top priority, but it's one of the mechanisms or the tools at our disposal that we can use if so necessary.
Yeah. I
Thank you,
agree with
Doctor.
what
Thank
Dr.
you.
Riddick said. So do you want us to make a recommendation?
I think we've made the
But
recommendation.
I mean, I have a policy that's before you, so to implement it, you have to make a motion to approve that policy. And then at some point, if it's passed, then at some point in time, maybe later, it could be put into the ordinance if you so desire. Because from reading listservs, a lot of counties do not have furlough in their personnel policy or their personnel ordinance. They're all have, the ones I've seen are asking for policies because it is one of those, we have to do something drastic and we want to have this in place in case we have to do it.
So we have to, don't we have to, because of interim budget, right? That's in effect. So don't we have until that interim budget comes to an end
The budget,
to make that
the
decision?
new budget has to be approved before the interim budget ends. I think that's what you're asking.
So you're saying we don't have to do this tonight because there's a lot of unknowns.
Right.
The finance director could find some money and we're not, and we waste our time, which I'm hoping for, Kim. I'm not worried about a furlough right now because I think it's gonna all work out.
We'll
After
try to
we
make
get
it
the
work.
letters out and I personally don't want to vote on it tonight because that's the last case scenario.
But we know we have it before us and we know that we can let our employees know.
And we
or our
prefer
county.
that we don't like the reduction in force.
There you go. Thank you for bringing that up. Very good.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that? Now, we will go to citizens' comments.
So are we not gonna, Mr. Chair, are we just gonna not do anything with furlough policy?
No. I think, did you say that?
That was just my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm only one of
Well,
five.
we like your opinion. I like your opinion.
I think, let's go with the public comments.
Roger that. All right, we'll move forward. So citizens' comments? And you want to read any of them or do a statement?
So are we gonna, now, these are the ones that were submitted online, but do we have names and addresses and stuff or?
No, we do not have names and addresses for all as per our normal routine. So do you,
And I think the county manager is bringing to my attention, thank you, ma'am, that we have some public comments that are anonymous. It is not our policy and not our procedure to entertain anyone that wants to remain anonymous. However, tonight, we're going to bend that rule a little bit. And those that have identified themselves, the county manager is going to read that and identify them. Then the ones that are anonymous, We're gonna read those anyway so we can hear those. Okay?
Okay. This is from Lee Smith. Is it true the county is furloughing its employees? Would county employees be furloughed 12 days straight? Are they supposed to stop every person and search their trash to make sure they are recycling properly? As said previously, I agree that commissioners should stop receiving benefits. If you are making the frontline workers take a hit with furlough, then make the commissioners forego their benefits. It's the safety of county employees not a priority. What if someone comes into a closed office with an employee and threats them? Glass panels and doors could help with that some. I agree. Why are we worried about cabinets when people's salary and lifelines are on the line? Some employees may be greatly impacted by simply losing one day a month. John Kittrell. It would be nice in these appointments if it was announced beforehand the names of the persons the commissioners are considering for various appointments. This Milton Carter, congratulations to Brian Silvers on his nomination for the board. I think the trash dumps should be looked at in a different perspective. Maybe give the people who work there a little training, because the people at the trash dump don't care about recycling. They will tell you put everything in the compactor. They will say just throw it in here. And I don't like this because I have to. He said, and I don't like this because I have to start over. I don't get my full 3 minutes on the floor. It made me run out of words and I have to start over again. I will still be glad when things get back to normal. It truncates after so many letters, that's why. This was from someone's email at Public Defender. I have several questions and I request they be read verbatim. Why do some of them laugh when talking about possible furloughs and layoffs for county employees? It's a mockery of those affected. What about part-time public safety people? Why do we give commissioners benefits? They are elected to serve me. They want it. They should do it for free. If the option is decided, how do they decide who gets furloughed? Is it like everything else, favoritism? Why won't they meet in a public setting where we as a county can rally? Not everyone has internet access. This affects everyone. Anonymous. Well, if attorneys have given recommendations previously for the personnel policy, why hadn't that information already been shared with the commissioners? Or why aren't those recommendations already incorporated into the proposed policy? It sounds as if there needs to be a personnel policy committee. Board appointments. How many members are currently serving on each local board? When do terms expire? Is the application process a random event, or do you apply using certain times? Is there representation by minorities on any of these boards, and if so, which ones? It appears that the openings on these boards are a best kept secret. Can the website be updated to reflect the answers to the aforementioned mentioned questions?
Thank you, ma'am. So was that four?
That was five.
Five.
Yes.
So we had 5 comments, and want to thank our citizens who have participated, even those anonymous, but do want to reiterate that anonymous folks will not be heard ever in front of this board again. Any comments, fellow commissioners?
No, sir.
All right, commissioner comments. Start with Commissioner Hoffler.
Well, as always, I hope everyone in the county is doing what they can to help stop the spread of the virus. We have been very fortunate to have low numbers, but one person is one too many. We want to stop the spread, and that means social distancing. That means wearing your mask. I see a lot of people in grocery stores and other places not following that, and we need to do that. And we try hard to do a good job, all of us, even though we might disagree. Their motives are good.
Commissioner Jones.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for all the citizens that watched tonight. I'm guessing we had a few that tuned in tonight more than last time. Hopefully we'll be back to normal. Well, after June the 26th, I think is the earliest right now after the governor's changed the date. So we'll be on camera a few more times. So let us know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. Thank y'all for staying with us all night.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Dr. Riddick.
I too thank the public for tuning in and participating in the public comments, and I hope that you understand from our perspective, and I can speak personally also, that this budget is very important, and we intend to be transparent about what we're doing. We intend to listen to you, whether it is by public hearing or, like we said, we're gonna meet with some of the boards that we can talk to, so we understand what is in these budget proposals and options, but we're gonna put every option on the table and try to be as equitable and fair as we can to the citizens of Gates County, knowing that everybody cannot be treated equitable, but we can be fair as far as when we make decisions, whether it's furlough, whether it's cutting someone's budget, whether it's not approving something, that we're going to be negotiating with amongst ourselves in your presence, by your attendance. We hope you continue to attend and continue to share with us as you see us in the community, your thoughts. And I hope you understand that when we are negotiating and making the best decisions, that we're looking at broadly for the citizens of all citizens of Gates County. And I hope that we represent you well as far as we're going to do our due diligence to do that. And we thank you again. Take care, be safe. As I travel across the county, I also see people without their masks and not doing what they're supposed to do. I pray that you do that so that we all can come out on the other side of this pandemic well.
Thank you, Dr. Riddick. Commissioner Owens.
Well, we do thank you for your participation tonight, and we're trying real hard to provide you participation through these videos, but we are all longing for the day when we can get back to the courtroom and see you face to face and be in much better circumstances. So thank you for your participation and stay safe.
Thank you, Commissioner Owens. Commissioner Owens is also known as Jack Owens, but we also like to mention another name, Jack, and he is a four-legged friend. And we are told that when we mention that name, there's a monetary gain for the county. So we do want to bring that up. So I thank you, Jack, for having the first name, Jack. Appreciate the ability for us to agree to disagree. So you see that in our daily activity, in our monthly activity, and it's not that we dislike one another when we disagree, because we do agree to disagree and disagree to agree. So appreciate your participation. Thank you, fellow commissioners. Good night. Oh, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
I
moved.
think there was one.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign here, none. We are standby adjourned.
Good night, Lee. Is that what you were saying, Ray?
Good.
You
Good.
guys-
yeah.
Okay.
What was that song used to be? Good night, Eileen? Good night, Eileen.
Not John Boy. We got a little.
Oh, yes,
Ray.
respond back
Oh.